and it looks like Noda is going to be your winner of this Portuguese Grand Prix. All right, friends. Welcome to round 5 here in Canada. Trying something new here with setting up FRL, and of course, it wants to glitch on me. So, here we are. You don't get the fancy welcome video. I might run it here in a little bit. Welcome, everyone. Round 5 here in Canada. We're getting ready for Split 2 here. Myself and Saintex are here. We're ready to roll. Saintex, how are you doing on this wonderful Sunday?
First of all, thank you so much for the, again, beautiful income. Welcome everybody, and I'm fine. I hope our drivers will be fine too, because we're going to head today Canada. Very tricky track. Also, I think some drivers might get some penalty points that could be very important today.
Yeah, I think, as we always say, penalties are going to play big here in FRL. They always tend to. I don't know why they always do, but they always do. So, looking last race, penalty points seemed to have a big change last week, and I think they're going to keep hitting people again this week. Um, Last week is one to talk about, though. Looking Netherlands, what a fun one! What a fun one that was.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And please, Bradley, don't ask me today about the predictions.
Oh, come on. You mean I can't say, hey, who do you think is going to win? And you just say, I
uh,
don't know?
uh, it's that will be okay when I will say everyone because it's so unpredictable. No, like to be honest, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I didn't saw the time trial times, and it will be for me difficult. So, firstly, I need to check how the qualifications will go. Then I can tell something more. Of course, I have some types that some bright shines, and for example, Spaghetti, Wasser, who else? Buciek, Radosław Kepa. We have a few different Crash maybe. I don't want to like say there we don't have any underdog, because as we
Mm-hmm.
see in every single race, there's someone like turning, especially in that current race. But I don't think so that we will see also that in Canada that someone will be dominating so much. So basically, as I said before, everyone have the same chance to win and stand on the podium, because you said like last week, our drivers are very competitive, and we can see that the level on the split 2 is definitely more uh, close to each other than in the split 1, where we can see some few changes. For example, Żelazny is definitely faster from other drivers, right?
Yeah, for sure. Looking here, I'm kind of trying to get a good idea of what's going to happen today, and I'm about with you. I'm clueless. I had spaghetti for lunch, and everybody loves Spaghetti Mafia, so I think Spaghetti Mafia might be a crowd favorite again, as he always is. Last week did really well in qualifying, and then with the race, I think a little bit of bad luck kind of hit him there. He got some penalties
Yeah.
that didn't help him. Um,
Also, from the since from the start of current season, Spaghetti Mafia have a bad luck, and we're seeing from race to race he's going higher and higher. So maybe today he will finally hit P1. Uh, I wish him that, because he definitely fights for it and deserve it. But us other drivers also deserve it. So I hope that the fight will be very competitive today.
for sure. Looking at Haas, and we talked about this last week, and I'm going to talk about it again this week because it's so impressive to me. Looking at Haas, Senor, and I don't want to discredit Yuri in any way, but Senor, second place, third place, fifth place, fourth place, has Haas up in the lead of the constructors, even though Aston Martin has the lead of the drivers with Wasserschwein.
Yeah,
It's Haas, as we've always said, are the key of consistency. They constantly show consistency is key. It's not always about one lap pace. Do we think Haas keep the Constructors' Championship this week, or do we think the Wall of Champions is going to crown us a new champion? Let's phrase it like that.
I don't want to make a mistake, but I think it's second race that we don't see Yuri Ovchenko as a second Haas driver. Uh, so probably Senior Piotras will be driving today only by himself alone as a Haas driver. So it's very difficult task to do in front of the Senior Piotras just to keep Haas so high. And of course, it will be awesome to see that. But I think Senior Piotras really need to show what he can make on the track. And I think the podium will be very, very important for whole Haas as a constructors in general standings.
I think Cassinior is P2 in drivers right now. Only a 4 point gap between him and Vassar. All it takes is just one bad race from one of them, and it mixes this whole thing up.
Yeah,
It's really, really tight and split too, and I absolutely love just how close all the racing is.
exactly.
A few drivers missing this week, which you just mentioned. A few different things moved around. It's anyone's game. What is going to be what really makes or breaks this for you in terms of this race?
It's hard to say, really. It's a very difficult question, Bradley, and I don't have answer for it. Even though, as I said before, I just want to check how qualifications will go on, and then I think we can make some predictions. Because for now, to be honest, I really don't know.
I so my predictions are real simple here,
Oh, you're so confident about that.
and it's that I don't have a single prediction for you. So don't ask me again what my prediction is because I don't have one. Now, with all that being said, qualifying is ready to kick off here, and I am excited to see who does what. And by excited to see who does what, I hope somebody shows me something here. That way I can say, oh, yeah, I called that from a mile away. First driver out on track, it looks like, is Gamer 2021. Gamer
Isn't that
is a
okay?
personal a personal favorite of mine. And I don't like calling favorites as a commentator, but Gamer I think shows just good consistency when he can finish. He finds himself in good places. He has good strategy, and when he does finish, he finishes consistently around the top 10. Hasn't put points on the board for Alfa Romeo yet, but I think he could have a good week this week.
Hopefully. And we can see already that we have only one driver just for now on the medium compound. And you will probably ask me about strategy on this race, right?
Yeah, I
As
always like to
always.
ask you about strategy.
As always. It depends from the driver, like really, because if you are able somehow to make sure that your tires wouldn't blow up and you can save them, it's possible. It's possible to make medium to softs. But if someone have a very good pace, I think the best strategy would be soft, medium softs. But as I said, and as we experienced that in before race, for example, and our like standard phrase. Safety car can change everything. So I hope the drivers will hold their strategy even there will be the safety car, because it really could help them. But for the fastest one, I would say softs, medium softs.
Well, let me go ahead and throw everything you just said out the window. Just got a message in. Wet race.
Yes, wet race.
Throw the entire thing out the window. So,
Yes.
with that being said, FRL and weather and rain. If there's anyone who knows about wet races, it's you. I will forever remember Monaco in season 3. My first
Yeah,
race of commentary and a zero stop strategy from you. So, wet weather race. What are the keys to that?
uh, can we confirm that the whole race will be wet?
I cannot confirm that, but they are starting on wets, is what I've been told. So,
Maybe a little dry just in the end. Okay, so um, inters, was it wet or inters? That's also a very important thing. After 40 minutes, it will dry. Okay, so basically the only the finish. Um, I know from my
full wet.
experience, for example, last Singapore in the previous season, everything could happen when the track is going to dry in the finish, or for example, when you have driving on the dry race, and in the end the rain will fall, but. It also could change almost everything. Your strategy can completely change, and it's very important who will stand as long as possible on the intercompound, wouldn't be spinning or something, and then of course we'll hold it until the end, full wet. Oh
Full
my,
wet.
oh my god,
This is going to be a good race.
this is going to be fun.
Oh, first times are starting to go on the board, and Wasserschwein with a 110-0. 2 tenths up, almost 3 tenths up, it looks like on Buchik. So, looking at times going through, a couple drivers haven't been able to set a time because they keep invalidating. And we see Fabian's retired out from the session. He joined in late, so it looks like he is going to be taking a step back. 110, I still think there's plenty of time to gain for these drivers with 13 minutes to go. Looking at especially final corners, this chicane specifically that we're watching Buchik go through there in Sector 1, and then the chicane right in the beginning of Sector 2. The left rights are where a lot of time is to be made or lost. But I think the Wall of Champions is going to be where you really put your lap down or you ruin it. Wall of Champions,
Oh yeah.
in my experience, anyways, when I drive this track, is where I either gain, set a bunch of time, or I DNF, and it's about 50-50 on which one I do personally.
Well, you
So,
can try to send it, but it will take a huge risk.
risk reward, we've talked about this before, and I feel like we'll talk about this every week until the end of the season. Risk reward, is it worth the risk, or do we think, especially knowing it's a wet race, playing a little conservative is a better option?
uh, in the qualifications, definitely, if I will know that I will have wet race, almost full wet race, I will definitely try to full send it on the qualifications. But it still depends how drivers will try to go it, because for example, if some drivers wouldn't get time on the qualifications and they will try to send it and they will crash, they will go from behind of the grid. So it might be difficult on in these conditions, but we don't know how the rest of the drivers will behave. For example, you can of course drive very very safely, uh, but that definitely wouldn't go for the top 5, top 10, I guess.
Canada's not a difficult track to pass. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't feel like Canada is a track where we see not a lot of battling. At least in the practice races I've been watching with some
Uh-huh.
of the drivers, we've seen some really good battles going through. So even with wets, I anticipate a lot of good on track battles personally. And I'm
Yeah, I
sure,
think so.
oh, Crash coming around turn one there, and then his teammate Youngi's coming out, and it looked like there was almost a bit of a block there. Crash setting another flying lap. I didn't mean to cut you off there, St. Tex. It was just very scary for a second.
We can be glad that there's nothing happened, but we can see also there's a Buchik, Spaghetti Mafia, and Crash. And Spaghetti Mafia also is going on the, I guess, off lap. He don't have any ERS, so Crash will definitely use this slipstream. So it might be helpful for him, of course, if he wouldn't block him. And he didn't lose any time of that. But as we said before, high risk, high reward.
Yep, 9.5 minutes left here in this qualifying session. If you're new to FRL, we run one 18-minute qualifying session and a 50% race. Always interesting to see drivers, especially near the end, what they throw in and how they decide to move forward. Crash not improving on his time, still sitting P4. Spaghetti Mafia, only driver that hasn't set a time yet. Looking at what he did there in the beginning, he just kept invalidating laps, which was unfortunate for him as it didn't give him the opportunity to really get a good lap in. So he pitted, went on a fresh set of tires, and it seems like he's trying to get a good lap going now, potentially.
It looks like this.
Trying to go through. It looks like a Ferrari spun there in Sector 1. Spaghetti setting purple Sector 1, though, which is a good sign for the fan favorite. And as I said, I had my spaghetti for lunch, so hopefully I didn't jinx Spaghetti Mafia there with a great commentator's curse.
It doesn't matter that you'll make a one very good lap on qualifications, or you can make like, I don't know, 6, 7 laps with like consistency time lapse, because it could goes like 1 minute 10 and 3. But if Spaghetti will try to full send it, for example, it might be 1 minute 9. So it definitely rewards, and he's jumping on the first place, making pole position with 1 minute 10 and 0. So very competitive at the front of the grid for now.
And it's insane how close these drivers are in the front of the grid. Spaghetti just barely going up, and then Dormati going into a 109.2. He's a new driver, I believe, a reserve driver, if I'm not
Oh
wrong.
yeah.
So impressive to see the reserve driver slinging in a 109.2 going around. And then Ignis in P4 reserve driver as well here for Williams.
This time is making very huge the time distance between the rest of the drivers. It's almost 8 tenths from the second place. And we saw how Spaghetti Mafia was struggling to make that single lap that allows him to make, for the short time, of course, but it was P1. So I think, no, I don't think, I'm sure that it will be almost impossible or very difficult for the drivers to make a very competitive time with the Dormati.
I Yeah, nearly 8 tenths of a second. That's scary, especially considering how close all the midfield is there. Everyone's second back. It's so close. It's going to take a flyer of a lap to compete with that. I think the drivers have it in them. It's going to be a matter of who does it. So Vixie coming around from his out lap to start a flying lap. We'll stick along with him and see how he can go here. 6 minutes left in qualifying now. Saint X, who's really got your eye other than Dormati? Is there anyone you think that'll really bring it in?
Like comparing to his time?
Yeah, compared to his time, who can find that 8/10 nearly a second to compete with him, if anyone?
As I said before, my type was Spaghetti, Wasser, and Radosław Kepa. But but I'm not sure that they will be able to fight with 1 minute 9 and 2 because, as I said, it's almost 8 tenths and it's. I'm speechless, really. I wasn't supposed that in the split 2 we'll be able to see that time. It's really
That's
impressive.
yeah, and that is as Kepa jumps himself up into P4 there, but still 9/10 off of that lap and an impressive lap from him still, but 9/10 off. His crash is coming down through the last straight, heading towards the Wall of Champions. Looking like, hello, welcome to FRL, Dormati. Like, impressive. Crash comes across with a 109.8. So Crash is going up there and Dormati wrecks. So that is still half a second off, though. Crash with a great lap, but still half a second off. What is. Did he eat, like, oatmeal for breakfast? What did he do here? Dormati, what did you do?
uh, for the viewers and the fans of the drivers, as you can see, both of us as the commentators are in deep shocked. Like we weren't even thinking that making this time will be even possible in the split 2, but Dormati definitely crashed it. I would say crashed it. Even the crash is second. But it's still, as you said, a huge time gap to earn it. And I will ask you exactly the same question as you asked me. Do you think that there will be any driver that will be trying to be that competitive to fight with the Dormati for the pole position?
I still have my eyes on Spaghetti Mafia. At fan favorite, we all know, and we know he has pace. So I'm curious to see if Spaghetti Mafia can throw a good time in here. 3 minutes left to go in qualifying, so he's got one good shot, really, at trying to go around, and it looks like he's taking a second warm up lap potentially because his current lap is invalidated. But I don't know. Still, Crash put in a great lap, and it's still half a second, so I think it's just going to take a full send from somebody. As we say, it's just going to take a full send, and somebody can do it. I just don't know who. 2.5 minutes left, so if you haven't gotten out for an outlap now, you're in trouble.
Also, Bradley, let's be clear. Like we saw that in the last week on the Netherlands, that the times between split 2 and the split 1 was all over the second. So it's really huge. And I think Dormati just showed more like split 1 pace of the qualifications. Nevertheless, the other drivers, of course, have now like get them together. Like, okay, this is my time. I need to push because I don't have nothing to lose, and just put the metal to the pedal and just fully send it. Because as I said before, I'm speechless and I'm trying to figure it out. Who might be the driver that will try to beat this time? But as we can see now, it it will be. I know that I'm repeating myself, I think like fifth, sixth, seventh time, but I don't have any other words. I'm
Well,
sorry about that, but I think you will agree with me.
absolutely. Spaghetti looks like he had it. He was purple sector 1, purple sector 2, and then invalidated while at champions. He would have had a good time to compete, and then he invalidated. So I think that is going to be Spaghetti's odds over. Looking here, because we are almost through to checkered flag, and it looks like it's getting a little wet. Am I wrong? A minute left. It's getting a little dark, so.
Yeah, but rain isn't fall down yet, so I think the qualifications will hold until the end as a dry conditions.
Let's see here. Keppa coming around. He's looking pretty good coming through Wall of Champions. Little loose. Doesn't have the 109 in him, I believe, but he has a 1099. So that improves him into P3. And this is where things get really interesting because at this point, drivers are going to have to do second push laps if they're still out there, if they want to try to get a time. And then in that case, I mean, the best of your tires is gone, so it's just improvement. Ignis is out coming around here, and he is looking good so far.
Indeed, but does he still have time to beat Dormati? We have 3 minutes until the finish of the current lap, so basically drivers still have a chance to beat this if they just started their own hot laps. But as we can see, Ignas isn't able to get better time, and he will finish currently at the 6th place.
Keppa
There's
coming
also someone
around.
Buchek, and Buchek jump
Oh,
over on the 2nd place. That's very impressive.
that's amazing. Keppa comes around and he puts himself into P3. 1097 improvement. Crash in P4. Wasserschwein in P5, but I don't think Wasser has another lap to put in. He does not. So let's see here. Senor in P11 coming around. He's going to be one of the last drivers to put in a time. Biss in front of him. Senor looks like is down on time though, so I don't believe he is going to be a competition here for the front of the field. But Haas qualifying midfield and then finding themselves up front as Senor dives into the pits. So that is going to be your qualifying over here. As we see Wasserschwein is the final car around to take the checkered flag. So that is going to be qualifying set. Dormati with a 1092, still 4 tenths up on Buchek's time. That's wow. And Spaghetti had the time to beat him if he hadn't have invalidated.
Yeah, I would definitely wanted to see that, but it is what it is. Spaghetti Mafia will start from the 6th place. So, as we seeing that, and as we were talking about our predictions, I'm so happy and I'm so glad that I didn't make any predictions because now I know that I will be so wrong.
Yeah, I'm never going to try to make predictions in Split 2 ever again.
Yeah,
I'm
never
done with
again.
that. So, thanks, Split 2. You continue to blow my mind every day. Every day, Split 2 impresses me. And I think it's just, it speaks to the skill in FRL and just the competitiveness and how everything's balanced because it's so close every time we watch this qualifying session. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to leave you with a time trial lap from JJ to enjoy to get a good feel of this, and then we will be back as soon as the formation lap begins.
Tak. Ja tylko jedno kółko złożyć, jakieś takie rozsądne, bo zrobimy 11-1. 11-0. A wszędzie się mogę poprawić, co nie?
Oh. Wait, where am I in the world? Currently. Oh my god, I'm so far down the grid. 2000. 2000s. I didn't even touch the wall. Oh!
All right.
Can you speak until the lights out?
Yep.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we said it was wet. Didn't know it would be wet, wet. FRL and weather love to mix things up. So, wet race. I'm curious to see where this goes. If you're new to FRL, it's a 50% race. So, when we say it's supposed to dry up 40 minutes in, that means right doggone near the end. Let's talk about pit stop strategy. So, pit stop strategy is saying wet to wet. And it's saying you can either stop once or you can stop twice. Or if you want to be a Saintex, you just don't stop at all. Whatever you prefer, that's on you. Dormati, reserve driver, he is racing in split one today as well. So the pace he shows is very pacey and very impressive. And it doesn't surprise me as he is going to be a split one driver. Fabian gets a disqualification from the formation lap. Not sure what happened there. Looking through at who is going to impress me. I know I said we weren't doing predictions here, but guess what? I want to make a prediction just for fun. I am going to say Fishu. Fishu's going to run up, and I think Fishu's going to have a good one. Now, did I just jinx it? Probably. But welcome to FRL. I love making predictions that go absolutely backwards. That is the fun of being the commentator. I get to say what I want to say and then watch it all go upside down. It's what I do. Formation lap.
That's the commentator's privilege.
Absolutely. It's what I get paid for. If I get paid. I don't know if I get paid anymore. I'm just here for fun at this point. Turn 1 is where this is going to get crazy. As we see, Buchek, Keppa, and Crash are having a little bit of a fiasco here. Second, third, fourth place. I don't think any of these drivers like the wet. Estepalve gets disqualified as Crash and Wasserschwein get disqualified here. None of the drivers like the wet. AWS, thank you for the second reminder of the pit stop strategy. You're doing a 1 stop at 17, 2 stop at lap 11, lap 20-ish. So, if you didn't know pit stop strategy, now you do. I will continue to say that every week until the end of FRL. Looking through turn 1. I'm watching turn 1 because I think whatever happens turn 1 sets the entire race. Turn 1 is the make or break. It's where it's all going to go. I don't think it matters.
Could change in the first corner.
I don't think it matters what happens the entire rest of lap 1 because we're probably going to be under safety car. Turn 1 is going to be where I'm watching. So, last car stacking up on the grid here. It looks like that's Gamer, who is stacking up to fill in the rear of the field. We are ready for 35 laps of Canadian excitement. I didn't get maple syrup today, and I probably should have because we're in Canada, and we're all set here on the grid.
And the lights out, and we're... Oh! Okay, so I wasn't ready for that.
I don't think any of this worked.
So, as we can see, already 4 drivers have a penalty to drive through. And we see a lot of collisions right now, and we have virtual safety car just behind the first corner, first turn. So I think it might be so fun today, Bradley.
Absolutely. Fabian gets disqualified for not jumping the line. I don't know what happened to him there, but he is out of this race before it could even start. Looking through, Spaghetti Mafia up into 4th place already. He had a big dive into turn 1 and it paid off dividends. VSC, though, which he is going to be happy for. If he can get the jump, he could find himself up into P3 early. Looking through, I mean, everybody was so relaxed on the start, but then so many drivers jumped the start. I don't know why they jumped the start or what happened there. Unfortunately for them, it's just going to make their race more difficult as we're still under VSC and drivers are really itching to get back underway. As we can see, people are starting to stack up back in the back here, and it looks like Ignis is still disconnected, I believe, unless that's Wasserschwein back in the back. Fishy retiring from the session. I don't know why he retired. And safety car, we're not even a lap in. So,
Also, I would say that safety car on the first lap isn't something new for us in the FRL, but those drive-through penalty will definitely change the game.
absolutely.
Because the Dormati and Buchek have it. So on the 3rd and 4th place is coming just behind them, Crash and Spaghetti with the clear account. So they have a chance to jump over the Dormati and Buchek, and I think it will totally pay off for them. And I think we will see some huge changes at the end of the race.
If I was those drivers with drive-through, I probably would have went ahead and served it right there on lap 1, especially knowing we were going under safety car. Unless they got the call a little bit later than we did, I probably would have just dove right in the pits, went ahead and served it, and then battled your way through. But wet conditions, I don't know what's about to happen, and this race feels so weird for some reason. It feels so off. And I don't know if it's just because of the qualifying order or because it's a wet race or exactly what it is. Lap 2, under safety car already. 2 drivers already out of the race. More penalties being handed out. I'm not guessing any of these drivers practiced under wet conditions. In an FRL, you got to be prepared for all the weathers. So, Saintex, did you practice under wets today? Or for this race?
You got me. I didn't touch it even once. Oh, we have some difficult issues on the back of the grid. We saw Gamer just spun a little, and that's very interesting because in the current situation, as you can see, Bradley, Tipove have a 10 seconds penalty, Kushor have 5 seconds, Beast 2000 10 seconds penalty, Youngis 5 seconds, Vixi 5 seconds, Vasser, Radoslav Kepa, Bucek and Dormati penalty of drive-through. So now Tipove have another 5 seconds over speeding into the pit lane. 15 seconds on the account. I think it's not this kind of sport to earn those seconds unless you don't need it.
I don't know that I would want any penalties if I was them. So Tipov is going to have to do 3 pit stops to serve it. And by the way, you saw the AWS pit stop strategy for the 3rd time. I don't think you need reminded, but it's wet, so why do you need to stop? I don't know. If you're Saintex, you just stay out the whole time, and who cares?
Nah, not really. It's very difficult, and I've got a bit lucky in the Monaco. So the whole idea of the strategy just not to pit in the wets came around like 15, 16 laps, so almost over in the half of the race. Trust me, my tires at the end was just like dead. I had almost 70% on them, and it was almost impossible to drive on them. If there will be like 2, maybe 3 laps more, I will definitely not finish this race.
I think we're about to see some magic. Lap 3 here under safety car. It doesn't look like safety car is coming in yet. The drive-through penalties, I'm really shocked these drivers didn't just go ahead and serve them under safety car. Safety car coming in this lap, though, so no more chance for them to serve it here. They're going to have to hold on to that for a while.
Yeah, in these conditions, when you have a safety car, you can't go to the pit lane just to make your penalty drive-through. You need to wait when the safety car will go into the pit lane. So that's why the drivers just need to wait. And we will see Dormati and Bucek are not going into the pit lane because they need to wait until the next lap, but we can see already Dormati is trying to jump over in front of the Bucek, and he already gained 7 tenths in front, 8 tenths, but we can see Tipove with the fastest lap, 1 minute 38. In these conditions, making the fastest lap will be very difficult, but we can see already Spaghetti Mafia with the beautiful overtake. Ignas Varnas also overtake Wasserschwein. So as you said before, the track allows you to fight with other drivers, even the conditions aren't very good and very well for simple driving. We can see some big heroes that even trying to overtake, and Spaghetti Mafia is definitely one of them.
Spaghetti Mafia up 3 places into P3. I think the big loser right now is Stepove, who's down in P15, down 6 places. It's anyone's game right now as we go, as we see here. Spaghetti Mafia right behind Bucek. And it's... Oh, and there's Dormati getting very loose. That's going to open up the door here for Bucek to go around. Potentially gap down to 4 seconds, gap down to 3.5 as he goes down the back straight here into a big dive bomb around, and that is going to open the door and Buchik up into P1 now, as we see Spaghetti Mafia is also trying to take advantage of Dormati's failures going around. Spaghetti Mafia has the outside that turns into the inside. They're fighting very hard here, and Spaghetti Mafia backs out of it. Spaghetti Mafia for a second had a peek at P2, but
And Dormati with a huge mistake, and he slips over and he's fall down currently at the 6th place, 7th place, and I think he will lose about that his potentially chance to win this race, but it's not over with the Buchik and Spaghetti Mafia, so we have still very good drivers in front of the grid, so is it Spaghetti Mafia will try to attack Buchek in this lap, or he will try just to drive consistently because he knows that Buchek still need to go to the pit lane to make his penalty?
I think he's going to try to be a little conservative because as he understands it, he's going to be in P1. And for all of you fans of Spaghetti Mafia, I'm sure you're jumping up and down in your seats right now because Spaghetti Mafia is in a great position for the race. All about consistency from this point forward. As I preach as a driver, it's not necessarily about the one lap pace, although one lap pace is important. There is a large push for race pace. As we see, Buchik dives into the pits here, so Spaghetti Mafia is going to take his place up as Buchik dives in to go ahead and serve that drive-through. And Ignis with a fastest lap. Impressive. Spaghetti Mafia, if you're a fan of his, you are probably celebrating like crazy now because here you go, Spaghetti Mafia up into P1. Crash in P2, 7/10 back, 8/10 back, almost a second back. Little bit worse run out of corners, it looks like, than Spaghetti. And it's just a great day to be a Spaghetti fan.
Yeah, maybe he will make his dreams to come true. As I said before, he's fighting for the P1 in every single race. Some bad luck, a few of them, but is it this race? Is it the big chance for the Spaghetti Mafia to hold the P1 and drive it until the end? We will see, but what I wanted to mention is that in these conditions, as we saw for on the example on Dormati, little mistake can cost you a lot in these conditions. That's what I wanted to say. That you need to be very gentle on the throttle because even a small add on the throttle will spin you over and you will lose definitely a lot.
I think what's going to be interesting to see is what drivers are able to avoid those little mistakes in the long run. And all of these drivers we know are consistent. We know these drivers have good pace. It's just going to be a matter of who can stay mentally checked in for the remainder of these races. BIS 2000 backing out of the session. I'm going to guess that's connection issues. Looking through here, I'm keeping my eyes on the field, and I keep getting drawn to the Haas and P5 because right now he's still in a good spot to keep himself up in the constructors because he is ahead right now of both of Wasserschwein, even though Vixie's above him, so he's still in a good spot to let Haas hold on to the constructors championship, which is impressive for me that Haas are carrying through the way they are here in Split 2, even though it looks like he's about to be under pressure by Buchik, who served his drive-through penalty, but not a problem there. So Haas, impressive still. I just think it's impressive to me that they've shown up and shown out the way they have. Even though they're not showing podiums and victories, they're still making it competitive when it counts.
Yeah, and as you said before, the previous results from Senior Piotras, it was like 5th, 4th, 5th place, something like that, isn't it? But let's jump over to beautiful battle between Buchek and Senior Piotras, and Buchek just overtake in the front of the straight DRS zone without it, of course, because the conditions didn't allow to do that. And Buchek is trying to come back to the top 3 drivers. He's currently going on this ladder, jumping over other drivers. Now a little slip, and Senior Piotras will use this advantage. No, he just tried to down before Buchek, and he still need to fight for this 5th place. But also, it's very impressive to see the Vixie holding on the 4th place, and of course those penalties isn't very good for him in current position, but we still have few laps to go, so everything would happen.
Going to be really fun to watch as this race unfolds long term. Looking through, Senor had a little bit of a slip, so now his gap's back to 1.2 seconds compared to Buchek. Buchek half a second off of Vixie now. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get the run through here with a little bit of slipstream on this main straight heading to the Wall of Champions. I'm still interested to see what happens with that dive bomb he made here in Wall of Champions and if there's any sort of conversation about that after the race. Because it was a little bit of a gutsy move, and I don't know. I'm curious to see if anyone says anything about it because it was a very late inside lunge.
Yeah, but we also need to say that it was very clean, because nothing happened to both drivers, because it was Buchek and Dormati, and as you said before, Buchek take advantage of these open doors and he just take it what he wants.
Absolutely. He probably took a track limits warning for it at least, which, in the grand scheme of things, track limits warning Dormati with a 122.6. So, still showing his pace, even though he's back in P13, should be able to find himself up into a higher position as we go, as the intervals are a little bit glitched out. So, I'm trying to keep my eyes on if there's a good battle forming, even though this battle right now for P4 is about the closest thing we see. P1 through 3, pretty spaced out, pretty consistent spaghetti. Trying to run away and hold on to his lead at the moment.
There will be so close fight now between the Senior Piotras, Buchek and Vixie. And I think the closest to overtake is Buchek just after the World Champions. Now we can see Buchek just didn't brake too early and he crashed in the back of Vixie, caused him lose of his wing. Definitely there is some kind of damage. And as we can see now, Senior Piotras also took advantage of that and jumped into the 5th place again.
Jumping up into P5 here for Senor. A good place to find himself as he can now battle out Vixie to move himself forward into the grid. Ignis and Vixie both have penalties in front of Senor, so I anticipate that Senor's just going to sit back, wait, let them pit and serve their penalties, or he may follow him in because he can still jump him in a pit stop. Lap 10 of 35, 25 laps to go at the moment. Spaghetti Mafia with a 3.5 second gap that he's building every lap. And then 7 seconds between Crash and Ignis. So front 3 have a good wide spread going, and it's very interesting to see where everything is at the moment, and I'm curious where the tire deg is going to start coming into play for these drivers on the wets.
Exactly, and we can see now Spaghetti Mafia have already 4.7 seconds in front of the Crash, and we can see that there's a huge time gap between the drivers, or something glitch. I don't know, because Senior Piotras is definitely not 1.6 seconds behind the Vixie, holding his on his back. So I think we need to wait a moment just to fix it again. Okay, I think it's came back. We can see Vixie losing 12 seconds to Crash, and he's still losing 3.8 seconds to the Spaghetti Mafia. And we can see that almost top 8 drivers still holds on the 10 laps on their starting wets compound, and a few drivers already go to pit. And I think it's safe to say that usage of the tires will definitely make the difference in this race, and I hope so. We don't see any more of the DNFs or disqualification as we saw before.
As you say
Commentator,
it.
commentator curse, Dormati crashed and spun, and he's DNF'd with this race. So the pace from the qualifications isn't allowed him to hold the P1, and he wouldn't be able to fight no more in this race. And we have safety car for now.
We said it before, we'll say it again. I will continue to preach it. You'll hear me preach it every race, every time. One little slip up can cost you everything, and as Dormati just learned, one little slip up can cause you to wreck. And that is going to be unfortunate, but for some of these drivers, they're going to be very happy to see this come in, and it's going to be fun in the pits as we see Senor, Vixie, Wasserschwein, Youngies, Kushor all going into the pits at the moment, going on fresh tires, and they're going to intermediates. So Senor, Vixie, and Wasser all going on to intermediate tires. And we know Wasserschwein is good at calling pit strategy here. Him and AD Gamer in Spain last season switching over. I think it's a great one to watch if you want to know what strategy you should be on. Wasserschwein is definitely the driver to watch, and I wonder if the rest of the grid is going to respond to these drivers going over on intermediates, as it is starting to rain a little less. So, long term, I wonder if this is a risk versus reward moment for these drivers.
Looking on the Wasserschwein, it doesn't look like he's slipping a little on this intermediate compound, so it might be a very good opportunity and change this strategy, but we saw that Wasserschwein has left the session, so maybe he have also some connection issues. I hope he will get back to us, but we need to focus for now on the current situation, and we see that Spaghetti and Crash just goes into the pit lane to change the wet compounds into probably exactly into the inters. So as I said before, the current situation for drivers is paying reward, especially Spaghetti and Crash didn't lose any positions, and we're seeing that Ignace is coming just in front, and the drivers would go just before in front of the Ignace, so he wouldn't earn any positions. I would say that it was just incredible, and also impossible to make the pit lane for the change the tires, that Spaghetti and Crash didn't lose anything at all.
As a driver, Saintex, where is your call for switching from wet to intermediates? Do you just listen to Jeff, which I already know the answer is no? Is it just a matter of watching tire temps, and when you can't hold tire temps anymore, you change? What is it that kind of signals to you, all right, I should think about getting off the wets and going on to the intermediates? What gives you that idea of changing?
Definitely not listening to Jeff, because it's not always worth it. But about your question, I would say that when I'm feeling that I'm losing the grip, and I feel that on the wet compounds I'm still a little bit less like slower, so I can ask of course for Jeff that maybe he will give me some tip or something. That okay, we can change the tires for the intermediate compound, but it's just like from the experience that if I will feel comfortable on the wet compound, or is it the time to just change the wet compound for the intermediates?
Okay, because these couple of drivers still out on wets, Ignis and Buchik. I can't talk today. I wonder what is going to be their key and when they decide to change. What is it they're waiting on? Is it just a matter of they don't want to pit now and give up track position? Team strategy? Do they think it's going to get wetter? I'm wondering what it is that's keeping them out on their wet tires, even though they are only 3 laps old. It's going to be a case of when this safety car restart happens, which I would guess is the end of this lap, are they going to be left in the dust?
I think, as you said before, the situation that depends from the track, and maybe Buchik that he just changed for the new wet compound. He don't want to lose his current positions, and he's waiting for end of the safety car. He will try to gain some positions, and maybe then if he will know that okay, I have no time, that I can go to the pit lane and change my tires, so no one will jump over in front of me, then he will decide to change his tires. It's hard to say, and of course a lot of different things and the situations depends of the driver and how he feels his car on the track.
Well, I think we're going to find out how the drivers feel here. Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. So Spaghetti, who had a 7 or 8 second gap at the end, is now taking control of the field, and he's going to have to build that gap back up on these fresh intermediates. You can see him swerving around, trying to keep heat, build up the tires to operating temperature, and Crash is right on his rear wing, does not want to give him any space at all. Spaghetti just swerving, trying to hold on here and catch Crash off guard as they come up to the final chicane to the Wall of Champions. And Spaghetti straightens out, and Spaghetti is back underway here. So we are into lap 14, going into 15 of 35 here. 20 laps to go at the moment, and Ignis and Buchik are in a very poor spot at the moment. As we can see, the Hassa Senor going around wide was trying to have a good look on Ignis and didn't have enough of a run. Looking through here, Spaghetti taking off, and Ignis doesn't seem to have poor pace compared to the cars around him.
Also, we can see that Spaghetti Mafia feels definitely faster in this compound, but also, as we said before, Wasserschwein have some connection issues, and probably there's a bot driving on him, because he's overtaking as mad. He already overtake Buchik and almost overtake his teammate Vixie, while probably he is not driving, so it definitely gives him a huge advantage just right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder if that's just a glitch in the game, because, as we know, Codemasters EA makes the best games ever. So that's nothing new to any of us at the moment. Looking through, though, Ignis has lost out one position now, so he's down in P3. He is still staying out, though, a little bit longer. As we see, he hits the wall a little bit there. Ignis takes a time penalty for his troubles, and it looks like Buchik has now decided to pit in this lap and go to the intermediate. So going to wets a little bit late, or a little bit sooner than he should have, pitting in for fresh tires. And Ignis spins in turn 1. I think that is their sign to get off the wet tires at the moment, because there is a massive time delta at the moment between the drivers.
Exactly, and we saw Ignas was struggling a little bit, and he weren't supposed to make the first turn, so he decided to cut it off, and he gained another 5 seconds penalty. He already have 14 seconds of his penalty on his account, so it will definitely be very painful, but we can see a beautiful fight between Youngis and Ovsky right now. Youngis just pushed off a little bit Ovsky on the track, but Ignos also is trying to fight with the Ovsky, but there's also Kushor, beautiful dive in just in front of the Ovsky, but Ovsky with the beautiful switchback, and he jumps again on the 7th place, but Kushor had a better exit, but he need to brake because he will definitely park in the back of the Ovsky's car.
Looking through here, they're coming into the chicane at the Wall of Champions, and Kushor backs out a little bit, and he dives it hard up the inside, goes all the way off the track, but then eats the wall for his troubles, so he loses out of position to Kepa, and he is going to drop back into P9 now, but it looks like Ovsky has to give the position back due to illegal overtake, I would guess. Yeah. Interesting call there from the stewards. So Kepa up into P7 now, Ovsky down into P9, and then they have to swap positions again. So Kushor down into P9, and I wonder if that is going to cost him. I don't know if he has front wing damage at the moment, but it seems like that was a lot of risk for no reward at all, as Tepove is looking up his inside now.
Also, the fight in front crashed with a 3 seconds penalty because he just ran over the race line. So basically, it will be very difficult to catch Spaghetti because he already losing 3 seconds, and also he just need, if there will be possibility to overtake Spaghetti Mafia, he need to get in front of Spaghetti Mafia of the 3 seconds just to try hold his P1, but currently he's on the second place, and we can see that Spaghetti Mafia feels like a fish in the water when he changed those tires for the intermediates. He's still gaining the time just in front of his opponents, and I think it looks very clean. Just with the opportunity to drive with the P1 until the end. And we can see clearly that P1, P2, and P3 have a huge time distance between them. Of course, Senior Piotras is trying to push Wasser as much as it possible.
Looking through here,
Yeah, continue, please.
Senor is the one that I really want to keep eyes on because he's only about 6/10 back on Wasser. Wasser is in race. He's just a ghost, is what I've been told, because, again, bug in game, Codemasters make the best game ever. We could go on about that all day, but I don't have the patience to. So, Spaghetti Mafia with a 4.1 second gap, he's building this gap by half a second to a second every lap. It's impressive. Spaghetti Mafia just showing off at this point. Just needs to run consistent pace.
Exactly, and also it's very important to say that Buciek also is trying to full send it and trying to catch over the rest of the grid because as we mentioned before, he was on the wet compound, so he decided to go on the inters, and he have currently the fastest lap 1 minute 20 seconds point 3, so basically 3/10 faster than Spaghetti Mafia, who was before holding the fastest lap. So basically we can see that Buciek is still trying to fight for the points as he was our winner of the Mexico Grand Prix, and also he is still improving, so that's also very impressive.
These enters are definitely in their operating range and their operating conditions. Now, big question of the day. Is the track going to continue to dry up, and are we going to dry tires at any point? If we are, how does that mix the grid up? Is it going to be a matter of who makes the right call win? Or do we think things are going to get real interesting here? As we see, Kepa and Youngis are having a crazy battle here in the middle sector. It looked like Kepa had a run on Youngis. Youngis is just gone, though. Kepa doesn't have anything to respond to. The Youngis in P6 now running away.
As you said before, AWS just show us 3 times what's the current strategy, and there wasn't even a mention about softs or even other any other compounds of the tires. So basically I think it goes with the wet conditions until the end of the race, but if the track will be dry enough to put any other compound, I will be very impressive, because this might change almost everything in this race.
15 laps ago, it's still all to play for here. Again, as we saw with Dormati, one little mistake and it can cost you. Spaghetti Mafia with a 5.2 second lead and then crash with a 1.5 gap on Wasserschwein. Senor needs to make up nearly 3 seconds to Wasserschwein now. So every gap is spreading out at the moment, and the drivers seem to be settling in to be comfortable, except for Buciek here, because if you're Buciek, you are just sending it, trying to build up and get back up in the front where he was before his penalties. So he just sent it around Gamer, and he is right on the rear of Kuchler. The Red Bull driver is trying to make a statement here with just a little bit to go, but other than him, it seems like things are kind of relaxing at the moment, and the drivers aren't trying to take too many risks.
And Bradley, now I have a question to you, because now we can see that we see some drivers that currently have every single driver have intermediate compounds, and the front of the grid have 8, 9 laps on these tires. But as we'll check how many pit stops the drivers had, do you think that they will be able to drive on this compound until the end, or maybe some of the drivers will decide to go once again to the pit lane to change the tires for other intermediate compound.
The track is going to dry up, which it seems like the way the weather's going, the track might dry up by the end. I don't think it's worth the risk to pit. Even if the track doesn't dry up, I don't think it's worth the risk to pit. If you're somebody like Spaghetti Mafia, if you can build up a good gap, it could potentially be worth it, but I still don't think it's worth the risk. If you have such a large gap and you're holding that gap, I don't know why you would give up the gap to go pit for a fresh set of tires. That's me personally. I would just hold on to the end and just try to hold on for it for the long run. A little bit of tire conservation and just hope that you've got it to the end. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 2, it seems like that is Ignis, and there is a safety car out. So, I said don't pit. If you're Spaghetti, I'd pit for a fresh set of tires.
But I'm very amazed that we have a safety car because Ignaz is still going. So I'm trying to think why FIA decided to get out with the safety car. That another safety car could definitely change the whole situation on the track.
I mean, we saw how Abu Dhabi went, so sometimes you just got to create a little bit of a TV spectacle.
It's called the motor racing, right?
Something like that. That's what we're calling it. So, lap 22 of 35, we got a safety car in, 12 laps to go at the moment. Drivers on tires, Kushor, Ignis into the pits. Ignis, of course, having to change his front wing in. Kushor, Gamer on brand new intermediates. Does anyone know if it's going to dry up? I want to know if it's going to dry up. That way I can start making my predictions for who's doing what when.
If I will say so, I don't think so that there will be any better conditions, and I think the light rain will hold with us until the end of the race. But of course, I can be wrong, and maybe you will have right that the track will dry enough to jump on the softs. And if this scenario would happen, what would bring your predictions to this game, to this race?
It's going to take a big send from Crash here, which if you're Crash, you're celebrating this 8-second, 9-second gap, and now you're going to be right behind Spaghetti. So if you're Crash, you're going to be celebrating this because you do a big send in turn one, you get around, and then you send it and you go and you go. If you're somebody like Buchik and Topove, who are back 8th, 9th because they had to serve penalties, you're celebrating this too because now everything's bunched up. You can serve some penalties, get them out of the way, and just get going. It's... As far as predictions go, it's going to be a matter of turn one at this point, and if there's any more safety cars. I think, regardless of if it dries up or not, who pits when in the front is going to be the key. If you're the first person to pull the trigger, you pull it a little too early, it doesn't matter what you've done, you've compromised your entire race. If you stay out too long on intermediates, it doesn't matter. It's going to be all about what driver does the best to fill out the transition time. And again, I think Wasserschwein is a driver that knows exactly when to transition back between his tires. We saw him do it in Spain last season. I think he's going to be the one to watch.
That's very interesting, and we saw that Senor Piotras just overtake under the safety car Wasserschwein, and I start thinking that that was a bug because Wasserschwein is a ghost, or maybe there was some illegal overtake that allows Senor Piotras hold the third place. I don't know, but definitely, what I'm sure that Spaghetti definitely need to stay on the track, and maybe I have some bugs, but Spaghetti Mafia have a problem with connections, and he was almost teleporting on the track. I hope everything will go well. We can see that clearly from the crash perspective. Because I have a nameplate, but it looks like Spaghetti Mafia is came back and everything is normal. Coming back, what I wanted to say is that Spaghetti Mafia definitely needs to stay on the track in this compound, and it wouldn't be worth to go to the pit lane and change the tires for him, and I think he will be able to drive until the end in current conditions on the intermediate compounds, especially that have these inters on 11 laps
He had
for
been
now.
if he had been a little bit closer to the pit lane whenever it went to safety car, I think he would have pit and went ahead and put on fresh intermediates if he could have held onto his P1. But I think he was already around past the pits whenever the safety car was
Yes,
called.
yes, yes.
So that may. All the drivers 1 through 8 are on older intermediates, 11 or 12 laps old. Safety cars in this lap. I think Crash. I mean, at this point, you have nothing to lose. So if you're Crash, you're going to just send it into turn 1 and hope it sticks, right?
Yeah, but I hope Crash wouldn't crash when he will try to send it. As you said, he don't have nothing to lose right now. But it depends how the restart will go on. And we can see now Spaghetti Mafia is trying to run over the Crash, but he's still holding just behind him 3 tenths in front of the Spaghetti is trying to get a bigger time gap. We can see clearly that Crash don't want to make any tricky moves, and he just want to drive with his current pace. If he will be able to hold it, he will be able to stand on the podium. But we can see clearly right now, as we mentioned, Senior Piotras also want to give everything on this track today, and Canada will definitely pay off with the podium fighting with the Wasserschwein, but we can see Wasserschwein is still just before, and if we wouldn't have this this ghosting, everything will change. But now the situation is changing because Wasserschwein had 3 seconds of the penalty. So in the current position, Senior Piotras, what he need to do right now is just drive behind the Wasserschwein's back, and he will stand on the podium. So that's what I was saying just in the start of the race. Earning any penalties will be very, very important at the end of the race, and we can clearly see that it's not worth to do that because I know and I understand that conditions are very tricky and very difficult. But if it's possible, just try not to make and earn any penalties, and it will definitely pay it off on the end.
It's interesting to watch because the rain has stopped now. I don't see any rain on my screen, anyways. You may. It may be another bug in the game. Looking through, Spaghetti Mafia has a 1.5 second gap, and then there's a 1 second gap to Wasserschwein, and then 2 seconds back to Senor. So the front of the field really settling out here, but changing conditions still going on to dries here near the end. 9 laps to go. We have a yellow flag in sector 2. It looks like that is going to be.
Again,
I don't.
Ignas.
Ignis back in the back who was spun. I wasn't sure who that was for a second. Looking through, hopefully that's not a safety car. But conditions changing again, so we're going to see another crossover point hit here within the next 9 laps, and it's going to be a matter of what driver manages that the best. As we can see, it looks like that was Vixie who spun there into Sector 3 and is back underway with no issues. So Vixie losing out. Drivers are going to have to start thinking about pitting here sometime soon. No dry line yet, but I would say here in the next couple laps, we're going to see a dry line start to develop. Saintex, what do you think?
It is possible, but I'm just start thinking that it will be a good decision to drive, for example, on the 2 or 3 laps to go and change the compound for the softs. If he wants to do that, any driver would need to do that right now. But we can see clearly that for now the intermediates are okay with these conditions, and I don't see any other drivers that is struggling a little bit more. Trax looks like isn't drying enough yet, but I'm also don't see any rain on it. So your scenario might happen.
Looking here, 7 laps to go at the moment, if I can do math, which is questionable. And the front of the field really spacing out at the moment. It looks like Kappa is having a good battle with Topove here, and they're trying to go here onto one of the 2 main straights, whichever you want to call it. And things are spacing out, but they're still close. There's good battles here and there. I think the drivers are all just waiting to see what conditions do. But Kepa's into the pits, and so is Crash. Crash onto a set of soft compound tires. So, gutsy call from the Mercedes driver here with 6 laps to go, 7 laps to go.
If that will pay off, Crash definitely will jump again in front of the grid. But we can see that it might be struggling a little bit for now for the drivers, and Wasserschwein just jumped over the Crash, and he's currently on the 2nd place. And about the Senior Piotras, I saw that he almost hit the wall, so the conditions might get changing, and if you want to change tires, I think it's the right time to do this right now. But I'm not sure what I'm saying, to be honest.
I'm riding on board here with Crash and trying to watch his times and see, because we know all the teams are going to be watching what Crash is doing and responding to this here soon. But looking at Crash's times, Sector 2, he was 5 seconds up on his best time. So I don't... Wasserschwein pitting in now. We'll see what Wasserschwein does. Yellow flag Sector 3. It looks like that is...
Softs.
Yeah, Wasserschwein going on to softs here. So, risk reward still playing off, but Crash seems to have a good handle of his car. So maybe making the right calls. We see multiple drivers into the pits now. So, a good case of what do you do here? Spaghetti Mafia with an 11 second, 11.2, 11 and a half, nearly 12 second, and there is your DRS enabled. So that is the call. Pitting in now is your call.
But as you said before, Crash isn't looking like he's struggling so much, but now he's much quicker. But as you can see, he almost spun, so it might be game changer for now. But also we can see a big fight between Bish and Gamer. Bish now just spun on the intermediate compounds, and Crash is already on the 9th place. So maybe this quick call for change on the soft compounds maybe will pay off. We will see. Still, we have 6 laps to go.
Absolutely, it looks like it's going to pay off here. As Spaghetti Mafia into the pits onto a fresh set of softs. Wasserschwein, I said he was the one to watch for the weather change, and it looks like he's predicted it perfectly. Going through Spaghetti Mafia, I don't think he's going to hold on to the lead. How far is he going to fall down, though? He needs to come out in front of Wasserschwein for it to be the best decision for him. And is he going to come out in front of Wasserschwein? We see Wasserschwein coming through into turn 1, and Spaghetti Mafia comes out into P3. So Spaghetti Mafia in a golden position here. 1.5 seconds to build on the front 2 drivers. Spaghetti Mafia getting very lucky in the pits, and his biggest competition with Wasserschwein is 2 seconds back at the moment.
And it looks like Spaghetti Mafia will be able to overtake. Just look how Youngis is struggling on the intermediate compounds. So definitely this call for changed tires will totally pay off. Spaghetti Mafia is currently on the 2nd place, 5 laps to go. We can see he's trying to catch Tipov, and it wouldn't be a bigger problem for him. He definitely have a lot of ERS, currently 80%. So he have items to fight with the Tipove. We see Tipove struggles a little bit just on the exit of the hairpin. Now just right behind on the left side, Spaghetti Mafia is coming back on his P1. So it was, as you said, golden. I forgot the word. If you could remember me, please.
Opportunity. Golden opportunity and golden strategy from Spaghetti Mafia. As we see, Youngi's still out on a set of intermediate. Spaghetti Mafia with a 1:19.2 here. So not much faster than the times we were seeing on intermediates, but just fast enough. Wasserschwein 1:18.5. So times are going to drop dramatically. Ignis went on mediums, which I'm questioning. But, hey, I'm not a strategy guy, so I don't know exactly why he would have done that. Youngi's the only driver still on an intermediate, so I'm wondering if he just doesn't think pitting is worth it and is just going to suffer through the end of the race on intermediates, but not a good decision because tire temps are going to become a huge problem for him by the end.
Exactly. Also, if Crash will close the gap in front of the Yankees, his teammate, he will jump over probably on the second place again. So the place where he was be on almost all of the race, but now big chance to catch up other drivers. Virtual safety car, and now we have safety car. 4 laps to go. What a dramatic scenario we have today.
Safety car due to Kushor spinning there in the middle sector, losing his wing, and I'm guessing either he just didn't get away or there's enough debris. Youngies is going to be celebrating this at the moment. He still doesn't pit, though, but his teammate Crash pits. What is the Mercedes strategy here? I do not understand. I thought Ferrari was the one that was supposed to have bad strategy calls. Why is it Mercedes that's making the horrible pit strategy right now? Why is Youngies still on intermediates?
I don't know, but Crash didn't lose that much. He's currently on the 5th place, and he will have definitely a fresh part of the compound. As you said before, Youngis has still on the intermediate compounds 20 laps on these wheels. Impressive. Even if it's dry conditions, he's still managing to hold this 3rd place. And if he will do that, I will be really amazed, to be honest.
I'm going to guess we'll have 1, maybe 2 laps to go when the safety car comes in. So it's all to play for. Youngies is going to have to make a tough call here. Is he going to stay on intermediates and risk being passed by everyone in the final lap? Or is he going to just rip the Band-Aid off, go into the pits, but that would see him back in P12. But where he's at right now, he's still risking finishing P12 if the intermediates don't hold on to the end, which DRS is enabled, so I don't know why they would hold on. Still staying out another lap.
This is this is definitely the part that we are not definitely boring. 3 laps to go, and I'm really curious that Youngest will manage to drive on the intermediate compounds until the end. And if my maths is correct, it will be like 23 laps on this compound. Unbelievable.
Either the best strategy call that Toto could have made or the worst strategy call that Toto's ever made. I don't have an answer for which one this is, but I would not be the one who wants to be sitting on that pit box making the call. I don't want to be the person responsible for that, and that's why I'm glad I commentate, because I don't want to be the one who makes these calls.
Toto, it calls motor racing, and we have definitely the definition of it today in the Canada GP, because we have almost everything in this race, right?
We've seen everything. Crazy qualifying, DNFs from fast drivers, wet conditions to intermediates, now into softs. It's been everything.
That's why I love Fox's Racing League, because you can be sure almost anything when the Sunday is coming and you know that this is the race day. One thing that you can be sure that someone will win, someone maybe will DNF, and you'll have at least 2 safety cars.
It's always a gamble in FRL. FRL is always exciting. This is why I like chaos. This is why I like this league, because it's always chaos. It's never boring. I don't think I've ever seen a boring race except for Singapore. Singapore we write off though. It's Singapore. We don't count that. Coming around here, we will have 2 laps under green flag. No DRS to help anyone. Nothing crazy. So we are underway, and we can see Wasserschwein and Spaghetti side by side, and immediately Youngies is getting passed by Senor and his teammate Crash. going around, and Youngi's not leaving any space there for Crash. Crash going into the rear end of Senior. So Youngi's worst call I think I've seen in pit strategy in F1 FRL history. Down into P6 in the matter of 2 corners and still holding on to it for 2 more laps. This is going to be scary to watch. But battle up front, Wasserschwein Spaghetti, I think, is the one to watch. As we see Youngies getting passed now by Gamer and Ofsky, and then Ignis going around him. So Youngi's just the loser of this strategy.
It's sad to say, but I need to agree with you, definitely, Bradley. And we can see Spaghetti Mafia is still making the bigger gap in front of the Wasserschwein, and I think he will be able to drive it until the end. Typowy just DNF'd, so we have almost everything, and I'm glad to see that as a commentator, and I'm glad that I'm not racing in these conditions. And I have just one simple question: that if it couldn't please raining in the split one, I would be so happy about that, because I would really, I will definitely just don't want to drive in these conditions as we have in the split two. But we need to say that this race was just amazing. As you said before, we have almost everything: wet conditions, dry conditions, wrong strategy, and wrong calls to the pit lane, beautiful overtakes in the very hard situation, and on the track Young is just DNF'd also. So we have 12 drivers crossed the finish line, and this is the finish of this race. We can see now sun is coming over the clouds just for the finish on the last lap.
Sun's coming out, and for Spaghetti Mafia, it's going to be the greatest sun ever. I told you I had my spaghetti for lunch. He's been the people's favorite. He hasn't gotten a win in FRL. He's had a P2, but he comes across the line. Spaghetti Mafia gets his first win in FRL here in Split 2 in the Canadian GP. Senior comes across for P2 on track, but Ofsky jumps him due to penalties. P3 there, Kepa DNFing in the final couple of corners. So we have Spaghetti Mafia, Ofsky on the podium, Senior, Wasserschwein, Crash, Gamer, Buchik, Ignis, Kushor, Vixie, Kepa with a DNF, and then Biss and Youngies. Youngies still out on those intermediate tires, losing from his podium places all the way down. Spaghetti Mafia, if you are a Spaghetti Mafia fan, you are going to be dancing circles right now. Spaghetti finally on the top step of the podium, where we've known he could be. He's had the pace in qualifying. He's had the pace. He hasn't been able to convert, and he finally has here in round 5. Spaghetti Mafia gets the top step of the podium.
And he finally win his race that he just wanted to make it so badly since the first race in the Mexico. And now we can see the McLaren driver standing on the podium as a winner of the Canadian GP.
And let's not mention Ofsky. We mentioned penalties would play everything. Ofsky keeping it clean, finding himself in P2, and then Senior in P3. Haas drivers, consistency is key, and I like to say that Haas has kept that consistency up. They should hold on to the top step of the Constructors' Championship, but Spaghetti Mafia finally where he belongs. I'm so glad to see it, especially when you look at everything that happened in this race. Spaghetti holding it on top. Definitely glad to see. Saintex, I know you have a race to be getting ready for, so we're going to go ahead and let you go. Good luck on your race. What are you taking into Split 1 after watching Split 2 here?
Drive it until the end without the penalties. It might be the best, and not making a bad call to going to the pit lane, definitely.
Strategy always plays it. Saintex, good luck with your race. I look forward to seeing you on track. I'll try not to commentators curse you, okay?
Okay, I hope so. And thank you so much for today. I hope you enjoyed as we did. And thank you again for a beautiful opportunity to commentate with you, Bradley.
Always, you're welcome anytime.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, hang out for just a few minutes. We're going to get ready for Split 1 here, and as soon as it's ready, we're coming back live. time. And it looks like Noda is going to be your winner of this Portuguese Grand Prix.
Who's going to continue to push.
Roloski is your champion. JJ splits the middle, gets past both drivers. All right, so Split 2 proved to do Split 2 stuff again, which none of us are complaining about. I got to use the bathroom, got a snack. Welcome to Split 1, everybody. Hope you enjoyed what Split 2 brought to the table, and I'm sure Split 1 is not going to disappoint. If you're new to FRL, I want to welcome you in here. We are in Round 5, Canada. This is... Well, if Split 2 is any indication, if the weather does the same thing in Split 1 that it did in Split 2, this is about to be pure carnage. So, if you're new to FRL, we run one 18-minute qualifying session, 50% race. And it's always a fun time. Let's talk about what played on in Split 2. Penalties, penalties, penalties. Spaghetti Mafia, the crowd favorite, finally back on top. We have lots of changes in the driver lineups for Split 1. We'll talk about those as they become relevant, as we need to. But just know that there have been some good driver changes and some good mix-ups here. Looking at last race, round 4 in Netherlands, it was really fun. If you heard my cat, she agrees. So, looking here through Jalajna, proving he is a force to compete with, but Chapa also proving he's one to watch. So, then Maddie and Noda, Jack is back, and Jack showed up P5. So, and just looking at everything through last week, I mean, it was a great race. We have a good roster for this week here, a good lineup of drivers. Looking through all of the driver stats here, True Hero is going to be a fun one to watch. Constructors Championship, it's Mercedes Ferrari. I mean, we want to imitate real life around here. The only thing that's not imitation of real life is Red Bull down in P7, but it's Mercedes Ferrari, a 70-point gap between Mercedes and Ferrari. Of course, John Meister, now a Ferrari driver after Roloski no longer racing here in FRL. And John Meister and JJ going to the top here. I'm sure they're going to bring the Tifosi back to glory. Don't quote me on that. I might have commentator cursed it, but here we go. Welcome to FRL. Looking at the drivers' table so far, Jalajna is on top with 29 Bailu in second place, 54-point gap there. Jalajna with 2 podiums in a row. We'll see if he can make it 3. Or 4 podiums, 2 first places in a row. We'll see if he can make that 3 and 5. 29 Bailu finished third, and then 11th in Imola, 8th place in Netherlands, so that'll be a fun one to watch. Looking at the rest of the grid here, JJ and John Meister, P11, 12 for Ferrari. We really need to see them step up. I really want to see Ferrari step up. I really want to see Alfa Romeo step up here and move themselves back up. 29 Bailu with 2 podiums in a row. I really want to see 29 Bailu move up and do more. I want to see all of these drivers do more, though, personally, looking through at everything. It's going to be fun racing. Strategy is going to play a big key. The other big key is going to be the drivers being relaxed and not trying to overpush. We saw a couple of moments, even though we had a wet race, where drivers tried to push and just gamble too much. For example, staying out on intermediates when you shouldn't have. And we saw how it costed the Mercedes driver in split two. It cost him a lot of places and he ended up finishing last. Now, looking at everything here, we're getting ready to get set and go through. It's going to be fun. That's about the most I've got for you, is it's going to be fun. And long term, I think I'm not making predictions. I know better than to make predictions at this point. It's not a game I'm playing. I know better. But if you want a prediction, we're going to see someone win who doesn't normally win here, especially if the weather creates chaos, because it's going to be yeah, it's going to be that. So, stick around, enjoy the race. It's always down to be pure carnage, and pure carnage makes for great F1 esports, if you ask me anyways. As we get ready here for Canada, waiting on everyone to load in and get ready before we jump over. 30 seconds to it. Again, I'm not making predictions. I know better than to make predictions at this point, although predictions do make for fun topics of conversation later. So, as I said, we're going to see someone win who doesn't normally win, or who hasn't won this season. And let's throw a name out there, Pafixian. There you go. I said a name. Everybody can judge me later for it. Pafixian, if you DNF or something happens to you, please don't yell at me. Wet qualifying. FRL, why do you do FRL things to me? Intermediate quali, why does this league do the things the league does? So, all that being said, I don't know what a good poll time is. We saw, I think it was like 120s is what Split 2 ran on the intermediate, so maybe a 119, 118. I don't know. JJ, first driver out on track per usual. JJ likes to get out early. We can see one of the Red Bulls going as well. And we can see, who was that behind him? I believe that was Jack right behind him. It wouldn't surprise me if that was Jack. So, the weather loves to play with my emotions. FRL loves to throw things on its head and just do what it does. If you're new to FRL, this is exactly what we do here. We just throw things around. We say something and then we don't know exactly what's going on, so we just kind of roll with it. But looking here, intermediates versus wets, it looks like intermediates are currently the way to go. Maybe one of the drivers will tempt it out on wet tires just to see what happens. But I don't anticipate that being the case. Looking here, JJ, typically our time trial king, our one lap pace setter. So with Jack right behind him, it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens. Coming around here, as JJ will be the first person to start a lap. We'll see what sort of pace JJ sets, because JJ is going to be the one that kind of sets everything for the long-term pace. I think him and Jalajne are going to be the ones that we need to watch, who will really set the pace of everything. They're going to be the ones that really show us where the ultimate strategy is and what the ultimate speed is of everything. So, with that being said, I hope I'm actually on the race pace here. Apologies, you would think by now that I know how to do this streaming thing, but I don't. Looking here, JJ coming around. Coming around here, third corner, JJ going on to the straight. We have yellow flags ahead of him, and I think JJ gets really loose there, but coming around here, final straightaway as he's going to come down. We'll see what the Wall of Champions does and if it makes a wall of losers here in Split 1. Split 2, we saw it costed Kappa right at the end, so Split 1 coming around. He looks really good. He sends it as far out as he dares, still gets a little wiggly on the end. So JJ putting in the first time of a 120.4 competitive time. We're going to jump back. Jack behind him, not setting in a time and invalidating his lap. So it looks like Jack holding on a little bit. Is Jalajne out on the track? He is, and he's on a flyer at the moment, so we'll jump in here with Jalajne, who is coming around, starting his first flying lap, so we'll see what sort of pace he can set forth and really cement his place here. Our Drivers' Championship leader at the moment. Looking at everything, he looks really good, though. He doesn't seem like he's having a hard time controlling the car. Saintex with a 127. Of course, JJ and Saintex teammates last season, so it's not surprising to see them competing with each other. Good friends on and off the track. They do discuss different things in the game with each other, and they try to help each other out as best they can. But Jalajne is, of course, trying to cement his place here in FRL and get Season 4 champion here in Split 1. 13 and a half minutes left in qualifying. Most drivers have done a first run or are out on their first run. Going around here, Jalajne comes around, and he looks to be on an absolute stonker of a lap. He puts in a 119.6, almost 0.8 of a second up on JJ at the moment. Tazo puts on 119.5 and beats his teammate out by nearly 0.2 of a second. So, Mercedes domination continuing here on round 5. It's still anyone's fight for the Drivers and Constructors Championship, but Mercedes domination continuing. Jack can't get a clean lap. He has ruined his lap before the first turn, so Jack just not having great time here. Running through. Looking through Bax in 4th place now. Good lap from him. JJ P3, Kappa in P6, John Meister in P8, Debe in P9, and we still see drivers jumping through. Matty putting himself into P5. Looking around, it's very competitive so far. True Hero out on a lap, coming through middle sector, and he is looking very conservative at the moment. He's not really, you can see he's still hesitating on the throttle a bit. He's just kind of holding on, trying to stay relaxed and make sure he doesn't lose everything going through. Coming around, I don't think this is going to be a crazy lap coming in here. 50.3 in the middle sector, so comfortable lap. It looks like he's just trying to bank a time. Jalajne beats his teammate Tazo, a 119.3 and 10th and a half up. Nearly 0.2 up. And 29 Bailey with a 119.37 as we see drivers are starting to find a bit of pace here as we are about a quarter of the way through qualifying. True Hero coming around. True Hero isn't going to have the pace to go through, but we're going to stick with him anyways and see where True Hero sticks his car. Comes around 122, 123. So True Hero 124.2. Slowest to the grid thus far. Not a great representative timing from him. Fishu coming around in the hairpin right-hander to get onto the front one of 2 straightaways. Going around, and he looks like he is going to have a good time. Noto, 119.2, throwing his Williams up. So Jalajne and Tazo not showing that they are the best competitive, but they are having a lot of drivers competing with them at the moment. We saw the pace in from Dormati of a 119, so it looks like he's showing strong thus far. We'll see here. Fishu being a little conservative at the Wall of Champions. Going around, Fishu puts himself up into P13 with a 120.9. So lots of time for a lot of these drivers to find. Top 10 all separated by just under 2 seconds. Jalajne puts in a 118.999. Nearly a 119 flat. Impressive pace from all these drivers. We do still have drivers who have yet to put in laps, though. As we jump on with Insidious, one of the drivers who hasn't set a lap yet, going through the hard hairpin right-hander onto the final straightaway. And looking behind him, I believe that's Dormati behind him who just got a little bit loose. see what Insidious can do. Insidious looks pretty far behind compared to other times. Maybe just trying to run a safe lap, get a feel of track conditions here. Nearly halfway through this qualifying session, a 121.5 puts himself into P15. True Hero has lots of time to find here at the moment, and Dormati's starting his flying lap right behind there. Dormati looking really good through the first chicane. Little bit loose there, but still holding onto his car, planning the throttle. Coming around second chicane into the second sector, into the DRS zone. JJ, a 118.6, and we can see Dormati just cannot hold on to it. JJ, where did your lap come from? Hello, sir. Welcome to FRL. Where did you come up with that much time on what you had? Either the track is really layering into what these drivers need it to, or he just, sent it. Did he send it or did he send it? I think he sent it. Coming around, Dormati's on a time. Jack is on a flyer behind Dormati. Bartosz, I think, is right behind Dormati. Dormati with a horrible run coming through, though. Not able to keep his car compliant here in the intermediate conditions. And he had the wet race to run, too, in split 2. So you would think he'd be able to hold on and get a little bit better pace. We'll see what time he puts through anyways as he comes around. Invalidates his lap. Jack with an invalidated lap there. And Bartosz coming around. Bartosz is coming in through the final sector, puts in a 119.3, sets himself into P5 with a very good looking time there going through. Pafixian's into the pits. Dormati is on a second lap. Maddie, let's jump on with Maddie here, who's on a lap, and we'll jump back in with Noda here shortly, who's on his out lap. Jalajna sets in a 117.9 now, half a second up on JJ, so it looks like the track is really layering into intermediate conditions now. The drivers are finding more and more pace as we go along. 117.997, just continuing to knock along times. Coming around here, Maddie into the final straightaway, and you see he gets a little bit loose there. We'll see as he finally gets on full throttle, and he is trying to find as much pace, burning ERS, and just trying to set forth the best lap time he can. As he comes around, final straightaway, he is going to put in a 119.8, 7/10 up on his time and setting himself into P11. So great time coming in from Maddie. JJ just went on to softs, and I'm curious what that decision is, if he's just trying to set up strategy or if that's what he's actually about to do. Noda invalidating his lap here, so he is not going to have a good time. We'll jump on with Deve here, who is going into the first corner and setting himself up for a great time. Six and a half minutes left. It's showing a couple of drivers on softs. I'm guessing that is them setting up their race strategy or trying to set up their tire for the soft compound running and for the race. I don't know what the race weather is going to be, but it should be fun. Devitt coming around the third sector here. He's looking pretty competitive at the moment. So it'll be fun to watch what Devitt does here as he comes through the main straightaway, going around here in near the wall of champions. Is it going to make a champion out of him, or is it going to cost him? Coming through and looking really good there, staying in track limits. Could have went a little bit wider, but he didn't, playing a little conservative. And Devitt comes across with a 118.9, sets himself up in a P5. Great run from the McLaren driver. We'll jump on board here with Kappa, who is out on a flying lap himself. 3/10 up here in the first sector. Looking really, really strong coming through the middle sector, going around, and he is going to be 3/10 up through the middle sector as well. So looking really good here from the Haas driver. We'll see where he goes through as he hits the hard right-hander into the main straightaway. One of many passing opportunities that he is going to have. Looking at final straightaway here, again, heading towards the wall of champions. What is this going to do for him? He goes and he is right on the edge of track limits. Could have went a little bit wider through there, but he didn't. Going around, final stretch. He puts himself up into P4. A great time, 6.5 tenths up. Zalazny with a 1:17.6 still holding on to that first place. 29 Bailu with a 1:18.3. The drivers are just hanging out at this point. There's really nothing that they've got to worry about. Dormati, Jack, and Pafixian still have not set laps, though, and Pafixian is out on an out lap coming around their corner. He just can't seem to find traction or pace, unfortunately, for the Haas driver. As he comes down the straightaway into the chicane, as he's going to start another flying lap here. Hopefully this will be the flying lap he needs. It seems like him and Jack and Dormati keep invalidating there, either in the first couple of corners or during the chicanes. They're cutting just a little bit too much off of the chicanes trying to find pace. So Pafixian going around real swirly. You can see Tokyo drift up through here. I wonder if you know how they live in Tokyo. I would like to know how they live in Canada as he invalidates his lap again. So Pafixian going to have to do another roundabout to try to set another lap, unfortunately for him. Insidious out on a flying lap at the moment, trying to find time, trying to find pace. It looks like the track could be drying up a little bit here. We may see just a little bit of soft tires near the end here of qualifying. 3.5 minutes to go. Going around, you can see Insidious trying to set a great time. Bartosz is on an out lap. Kepa is still out on another lap on his intermediates. He's probably going to be pitting this lap, though. John Meister is out. Bax is also setting soft tires. I believe the drivers are just working on their race setups at the moment, so ignore that. Going around here, Insidious looking really strong going into the hard right-hander. He is 2.5 tenths up through the middle sector, so he'll come around the final corner, see if he can find any pace to put himself up with his teammate 29 Bailu, who is currently in P2. Drivers not opting to go back out and set more laps, as we see Insidious final corner here, and he plays it a little bit safer. Lots of these drivers not going as wide as I thought they would go through the Wall of Champions. Insidious only finding enough time to put himself into P11 here. We'll jump on board with Bartosz, who is going around first sector into the middle sector, looking really strong through the chicane where we pick him up here on the camera. JJ on an outlap. We'll keep our eyes on him as he is going to be one to watch. He's just now coming into the middle sector, so he still has a bit of time, but we will definitely jump on board with his final lap. 2 minutes left to go here in qualifying. And it looks like some drivers opting to go out on softs at the moment, while JJ's on intermediates. Tazo and Debe are out on softs. Same with Barthez. All drivers going out on softs. Zalazny is out on softs as well. So it looks like those drivers think that now is the time and that switchover for them to try soft tires and dry compound tires just to see exactly what can happen here. As we go through, 1:45 left in qualifying. What time is Bartosz going to set in? Bartosz is going to go and put in as he comes through Wall of Champions. Gets a little wide there, but very, very in control of his car. DRS is enabled. So if you're a driver on soft tires with 1.5 minutes left, you made the best call. Bartosz sets in a 1:18.7, improves a little bit into P6. But it looks like this is going to be an all-out shootout, and JJ and John Meister catching themselves on the wrong tires as JJ crashes in the pit straight. So unfortunately for JJ, that is his race over. His qualifying session over. He is in P7. We'll see how much farther he drops as these drivers who all opted out onto soft compound tires set their laps. Unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, but that is the risk he took. Zalazny is out on an outlap coming around the corner of champion, or the Wall of Champions here as he goes through, and he is going to be setting a lap. 50 seconds left to go here as his teammate behind him, Tazo, hits some of the debris. Hopefully he didn't get a punctured tire from that. Coming around, it looks like Zalazny is going to have an Aston Martin in his way. The Aston Martin stays out of his way, though. So any driver on intermediates is definitely on the wrong tire here with 30 seconds left to go. We'll see what time Zalazny can put in and if anybody can compete with his time. As Zalazny purples the first sector by nearly half a second going through. So he is going to be flying as he comes around here. Middle sector is going to be where he gets most of his time as he goes around the stricken JJ in the middle sector. JJ, of course, being caught out. Wrong tires, wrong time. as we continue to go around 5 seconds, and Zalazhny purples the middle sector by 1.5 seconds. We'll see what drivers behind him can compete as the checkered flag is now down. So if you aren't on your lap, you're done. Dormati DNFing here, or retiring out from the session. He knows that is his qualifying session over. Going around, Pafixian still unable to set a time here. Jack up into P2 with a 1:18.0, but Zalazhny is going to come around. Zalazhny is going to set in an absolute flyer of a lap when you compare that, though. Zalazhny with a 1:14.5. The drivers behind him going to continue to get great time. His teammate Tazo with a 1:15.6. Looking through, 29 Bailu out on a lap, and 29 Bailu is going to be flying here. He's on soft compounds. Barthez, a 1:17.9 improving. 29 Bailu is looking very strong. He's coming around, passes the wall of champions, and 29 Bailu is going to be able to set in a 1:14.3, so he puts himself in a provisional pole. But we still have a few drivers out on track at the moment, but it looks like Bax and Maddie are going to be the last couple drivers who are setting times here. Bax coming around, Maddie right behind him. Bax going on to the final straight. Bax is going to set in a 1:14.9, and Maddie puts himself into P3 with a 1:14.9. Oh. So, drying up right at the very end of qualifying, and the drivers choosing to go out on soft compound tires at the very end. Making the best call here, 29 Bailu finding himself up into pole position. Zalazhny right there in P2, though, and Maddie in P3. Bax in P4, Tazo in P5. So the drivers deciding to go out on softs, making a great strategy call there, and finding themselves up in the top just due to the right place, right time. So that is going to be all she wrote here in this qualifying session. I'm really impressed by the drivers who gambled to go on softs, and then right as they started laps, DRS was enabled, which means they got to take all sorts of advantage of DRS and set in some extreme times right there near the end. Should be a great lap one to watch here as they go around. Pafixian not able to set a strong time, and then Jack not able to set a time till the very end. Track limits catching both of those drivers out, unfortunately. And for Jack, it means it cost him the possibility of going into soft compound tires. Looking here around at times, I don't think any of these times are truly representative of any of these drivers. I think it's just a snapshot and a little bit of pace. I still think 29 Bailu and Maddie are going to be ones to watch. I think Jack is going to have a great competition here. I think Dormati is going to be one that we still need to watch. Everyone you see in about the top on your screen, the top 14, and even the drivers not on screen, I think are going to be the ones you still have to watch. We're going to jump over and take a quick break, and then as soon as formation lap starts, we'll jump in.
Ja tylko jedno kółko złożyć, jakieś takie rozsądne, bo zrobimy 11-1. 11-0. A wszędzie się mogę poprawić, co nie?
Oh. Wait, where am I in the world? Currently. Oh my god, I'm so far down the grid. 2000. 2000s. I didn't even touch the wall. Oh! Yeah.
Alright, so something you may have missed there, we didn't catch it fast enough. AWS pit stop strategy. We have a dry race, thankfully, here for this race, but pit stop strategy, they're saying either 3 stops or 4 stops. So, interesting call there. I don't know that that's a great call, but it's tire deg is a serious issue here, so they're saying soft, medium, medium, or soft, medium, medium. And I'm sure it'll show it like 3 more times because AWS wants you to know everything that's going on. But looking here at strategy, that will be the deciding factor of this race. Consistency and strategy. As we saw in split 2, as the track dried, making the call on when to switch tires was extremely important for the drivers. And as we saw with Youngies, it cost him his race, unfortunately, finishing last because of his call. So I don't think we have any weather predicted for this race, which luckily for the drivers means they don't have to worry about it. As the drivers come around the formation lap, and 29 Bailu is going to have to watch out for that Mercedes right beside him as they form up formation lap here. Coming around and setting up Bax, Tazo, and Pafixian getting disqualified from the formation lap, unfortunately for them. It's going to be instrumental for these drivers to get away from turn 1 well, because if they don't get out of turn 1 well, it means they are in some extreme trouble. As the final driver set up on the grid, and we are going to get prepared to go underway here, and we are going to have 5 red lights, and that is going to be us underway here for split 1 of the Canadian GP. And you can see 29 Bailu gets away extremely well. Jalajne does not, though. 29 Bailu cuts him off. We'll see here in the midfield a great 3-way battle going around here as we watch Bax, Noda dragging out side by side here. Noda is going to have the run on the outside, so Noda is going to be able to take the position there from Bax. And then back behind them, we still see 2-3 wide as we go through the first chicane here in Sector 1. Everything kind of straightening out, and it looks extremely good here. But for 29 Bailu, he still has Tazo right behind him. He needs to fight off the Mercedes driver and build a little bit of pace. As we see yellow flag Sector 2, it looks like that is going to be Bartosz of Barthez that have spun out there in the middle sector. They are able to get back going underway, though, with no issues. Just a little bit of damage for them, and I'm sure missing front wings. But looking through Maddie and Tazo, look at Noda, though, diving it up the inside and around. Sorry. Noda trying to dive around the outside there on Maddie. Noda wasn't able to make it stick, but Noda's going to have the slipstream as we go down the straightaway here on Maddie. Is Noda going to think about having a little bit of a move here? Noda is thinking about a little bit of a move, and Noda's going to have the outside that switches to the inside, but Noda's going to back out of it here in coming around the chicane to the Wall of Champions. Noda backs out of it as he thinks better of it, but Noda gets the drag down the main straight, and that means Noda up into P4 around Maddie, Jalajne and Tazo 2-3, and then 29 Bailu holding on to P1 through this first lap. Jack and Bax battling it out, though. Jack right behind Bax here in the P6, P7 battle, and you can see Jack not giving up here because he knows he has Dormati on his inside. Dormati switches back outside, though. Dormati trying to hold on here to this battle as they have JJ in the mix as well. What a crazy fight right here. Dormati having a peek here. He thought about trying to hold the outside here, but Jack being smart. Dormati gets a little bit loose there. Is that going to open the door for JJ to get around the AlphaTauri driver? JJ just sitting back and watching. JJ doing a hard cut here, and he has a better run than Dormati. Dormati getting a little loose there, losing the traction coming out of the hard right-hander, and JJ running down here as we get to the chicane to the Wall of Champions. Is JJ going to have a lunge here? Drivers kind of having a peek, trying to break the slipstream. Nothing working out, though. Dormati gets a horrible run there past the Wall of Champions. JJ's going to open up the door here. JJ, side by side here as we go into turn 1. He's going to have the outside that's going to switch back to the inside. And Dormati is still trying to hold on the medium tires. Dormati having to back out of it, though. And that means that JJ is going to get himself up into P8. The Ferrari driver trying to work his way back up. As we check in with the front of the grid here, Jalajna and Tazo tagging right to the rear of 29 Bailu, and then Noda right behind them as well, trying to keep up here. It's been a great first few laps here in FRL, and you can see the drivers all enjoying the dry weather compared to the qualifying they just had. Coming around, all the drivers are staying very, very close to each other here. JJ still having a peek on Bax back in P6. Up in the front of the field, the top 4 are just separated, looking there. Jack and Dormati are not giving this battle up. And it looks like Dormati is back around Jack here for the P8 position. And you have John Meister right behind them, just kind of sitting and watching and enjoying everything as DRS is enabled. And you can see lots of DRS here as Dormati's going to think about a dive on the inside here on JJ. Wasn't close enough there. Tazo and Jalajne get around 29 Bailu. 29 Bailu losing out big time down the straightaway due to the DRS. Noda still trying to get around 29 Bailu here. So that means 29 Bailu going from P1 to P3 as the Mercedes get to get around him and unleash some pace. There is so much action here on lap 4. I don't know if I can keep this going for another 31 laps. Looking Dormati getting around JJ now, finally here in for P7. As we see John Meister and Buchik battling each other here, as Dormati gets extremely loose right behind Matty, and that is going to open up for JJ to go around there as well. JJ is going to close it. Dormati's going to have a bit of a break dive down the inside. There's a little bit of contact there, and Dormati goes into the wall, and Dormati DNFs as him and JJ are bumping wheels, and that is definitely going to be a safety car out, I'm sure. Did the contact with JJ cost Dormati the race there? It's hard to say because they were side by side, and the camera angle didn't show great what happened there. Jalajne gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. No safety car yet. And it looks like no safety car is going to be called here on lap 5. As JJ gets an amazing run here on Matty coming through the final corner. JJ, pretty as you please, thank you very much, is around Matty there into P6. And he's going to have a look at backs at the same time. JJ wasting no time trying to unleash some pace here in the Ferrari. If you're a Tifosi fan, go ahead and stand up, jump around, because you are going to be excited here for what Ferrari can put together today. Meanwhile, looking up front of the grid, Noda and 29 Bailu have swapped positions here, so everything's settling, but the front four still have a 5.5 second gap on JJ, which I'm guessing is going to be nothing for them to get together. Jack and Bax battling it out here. Jack around for P6, and then Buchik having a look here on Matty. Buchik getting the pass done there as well. DRS absolutely instrumental to help these drivers pass going around through straightaways. DRS can be the difference between first and second place if you're close enough. Coming around here, you can see Buchik having a peek here, and then John Meister getting around the outside of Matty, so lots of crazy things happening, and safety car has now been deployed for a DNF by Pafixian. You can see all the front drivers immediately pitting in. Jalajna onto a set of mediums. Him and his teammate double stacking. Horrible call from the Mercedes team. JJ getting the lead due to this, starting on mediums. Great call from him. So JJ and Jack on the fresh mediums, going to be up in 1-2. Buchik in P3. Unfortunate for Dormati, his FRL debut and DNFing in both races from circumstances out of his control. As I said, I don't know if the contact with JJ is to blame for his DNF. Wasn't able to tell in the camera, but he could have had an extremely strong race, but unfortunately that is the way the cookie crumbles in FRL. I don't think his hit to the wall should have DNF'd him, but here we are. Looking around here at the field, at pit strategy, JJ, Jack. Buchik still out on a set of softs. Tire deg, an extreme problem here in Canada, so choosing to be out on softs. He may be gambling for another safety car, or he may decide to pit here. I'm not sure. I am not an F1 strategist, but it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do as he comes around here. John Meister, Debe, all on a fresh set of on their mediums they started with. Same with Syntex, same with Kappa, same with True Hero. Fishu also on mediums. Everyone else is pitted for a fresh set of medium tires. So Jalajna and P6 on a fresh set of mediums. He is going to be pacey. Same with Noda and 29 Bailu. They were top 3. So as it stands, as far as pit stop strategy, whatever these drivers decide to do is going to be crazy. As we can see, Buchik now deciding to pit to get off of his soft tires, just not getting the call into the pits fast enough. So Mercedes drivers, after their double stack, P5 and P11, still 28 laps to go, 29 laps to go here in this race. So it's going to be very exciting to watch and see exactly how things pan out as we're under the first safety car of this Canadian Grand Prix. Drivers trying to keep their medium tires warmed up. I don't believe the safety car is going to be in this lap here. And if you're on the mediums, I don't know how long you wait to pit at this point. Because you're already on 6 laps, and the mediums should be able to get you a little bit further in. Safety car going to be in this lap, which means JJ will take control of the field here. We'll watch and see what he does as Jack is behind him, trying to warm his tires up, getting ready to make sure he catches JJ and that JJ doesn't catch him off guard. But his teammate John Meister right behind him, so John Meister is going to be trying to have a attack here on Jack to get around. And David up into P4, David is going to want to throw himself up in the podium places and make sure that he can be extremely competitive here to give McLaren a good advantage. JJ deciding to go right before the chicane as opposed to after the chicane. So we're back underway here on lap 8 in FRL here in Canada. And Jack definitely getting caught off guard by JJ going before the chicane. So unfortunately for Jack, not close enough to have a lunge into turn 1. But he will still be able to get going. No DRS for 2 laps after a safety car. So for these first couple laps, it's all about pace, which as it looks with JJ, JJ has some impeccable pace. You can hear Tazo getting around True Hero up into P10, and you can see in front of that 29 Bailu and Keppa having a battle here, and it looks like 29 Bailu is going to hold on to P8 at the moment, and Tazo is going to get around here into P9 as they come through. Tazo has the pass done. Thank you very much. And Jalajna and Debe having a great battle here into the right-hander, and Jalajna diving it in there. Debe trying to think about a switchback, and he does get a good switchback going, but he's not able to convert on traction. So therefore, Jalajna on the fresher mediums is going to be up into P4, and he is now chasing down the top 3 extremely close at the moment. As they come around here into the front stretch, lap 9, JJ has a half second, John Meister has 0.8 of a second, and then Jalajne is only a half second off here. They are battling extremely hard and trying to find any sort of advantage they can. One little slip up, as we saw in split 2, can be the difference between first and last. Great battles here. Tazo back in P9 trying to chase down Saintex and get up into P8, and he does chase him down. He does get around him there, and Tazo is now up into P8. Mercedes showing some extremely strong pace. Looking here at Tazo. Tazo up into P8, so he is trying to get up to help his teammate up in P4, who's now up into P3. As he gets around John Meister there into P3. What an amazing run he just had. DRS now enabled this lap, and Jalajne with a 1:11.7 fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Jack a half second, gaining slowly on JJ, but not close enough, and he knows he has the Mercedes of Jalajne in his mirror, and he needs to get going now. As they come around into Sector 2 at the moment. DRS wide open. JJ is going to be under a lot of pressure at the moment here as we see Jack right on the rear end there. And we have a yellow flag Sector 2. It looks like that is going to be for True Hero, who has spun. Some drivers want a safety car. Some drivers don't. If you're JJ and Jack, you probably want a safety car at the moment. And John Meister, so they can go ahead and pit and get it over with 9-lap-old mediums. Lap 10 here, though. Going around, and DRS open here. Jack has a great run on JJ. Jack is going to try to get the pass done before the straight, and he does. JJ swapping here, and JJ getting really loose, and that's going to put him under attack there from Jalajna, and he gets past there. So JJ losing 2 positions in what is essentially 1 straightaway. So now his teammate John Meister right behind him, and that means that Jalajna and Jack are now going to be having the great battle here for P1 at the moment. going around. Only 2.5 tenths separating these drivers, so if Zalazny can get a good run here through the middle sector, he could challenge Jack around into this DRS zone. And it looks like he has had a great run. 3 tenths the gap now as Zalazny is going through on Jack. DRS open. Jack is going to go defensive on the left-hand side, and Zalazny is going to back out of it as he didn't have enough of a run to try to go around, and he thinks better about trying to have a dive into the chicane there. Smart move from the Mercedes driver. He's now going to try to go the long way around the outside here, coming around the hard right-hander, and him and Jack make contact there as Jack doesn't see him and cuts him off there, and that is going to prove advantageous for JJ. JJ trying to get around Zalazny, but then Zalazny having a better run there on JJ. Zalazny is going to look around the left side here at Jack, and he's going to get the job done now before the chicane. So Zalazny up into P1. Let's not lose sight here on the battle in the rest of the field as we're looking here. Yellow flag, Insidious spinning at the wall of champions, but it looks like he's back underway with no issues. And looking through the rest of the field, it looks like Keppa and Buchik are going to be having a strong battle coming through, as Keppa thought about having a run here in the middle sector, wasn't able to convert. So Keppa's still holding on to P11, but right behind Buchik here. Great battles all around this field here in split one as we see Buchik trying to have a run here on Saintex now, and Buchik getting the gap off of Keppa and trying to have the run on Saintex. He has a very, very close advantage, so he should be able to get the pass done here in this lap. As they come to the DRS zone, DRS open, and Buchik says, thank you very much, I'll take my P9 in place, and that is the battle for the last points paying place. But for now, it's going to be Buchik up a place. As we jump back here in front, Jack up in P2. Half a second the gap now between him and Zalazny, but only 8 tenths the gap between Jack and JJ. And then John Meister holding position. So Ferrari definitely playing the team game at the moment and holding places and holding on for dear life for the long haul. Yellow flag, sector 1. It looks like that is going to be for Insidious going slow, but he's back underway. No issues there. As we follow on board, you can see with Jack, now a 3-second time penalty. JJ behind him there. No penalty. So at the moment, JJ is technically in P1, but a pit stop under Zalazny's belt. No pit stops under Jack and JJ's belt, or John Meister's belt. It'll be curious to see when Ferrari decides that they're going to do their pit stops and when Jack is going to do his pit stop. As will Ferrari respond to whenever Jack pits, they'll follow him right in. Is this going to be the lap where Jack decides to pit? It is not. He is still trying to chase down Zalazny, and at the moment, the gap is down to 4 tenths, 3.5, 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths before they hit turn 1. However, Zalazny is having such a good run through the first and middle sector that regardless of what Jack does, Jack can't seem to get close enough in order to make a pass. He needs to continue the pressure on Zalazny and make some sort of a slip-up happen. Zalazny needs his teammate Tazo to come up and be competitive. Tazo currently in P7, holding position at the moment, needing to move up in the field a little bit more. As they come around middle sector in the second DRS zone, you can see Jack getting very swirly coming off of the exits of corners, not able to convert. He's able to close the gap down to like 2 to 3 tenths, but isn't able to convert in order to pick up and win. True Hero DNFing from the session, and that is going to be a VSC as True Hero loses it coming through the corner of the wall of champions, and the VSC is very quickly named into a safety car. And if your drivers like Jack, JJ, John Meister, you're going to be very excited for that one. You can see Zalazny straight into the pits, Jack into the pits, JJ into the pits as well. So all of the top drivers going into the pits. How will this pit stop strategy play out, though? Are Ferrari double stacking? Ferrari are indeed double stacking, but did they have enough of a gap here in order for the double stack to not cause an issue? As Jack comes out into P2, where he was. JJ into P3. John Meister is losing positions, though, it appears, due to double stacking with his teammate. So as we go through, Zalazny is going to come out into P1, and Jack is going to come out into P2 here, and then you're going to have some lap traffic in the way. Bartosz, JJ into P3, and then you have Bartosz Bax, Noda opting for hard tires, an alternate strategy. 29 Bailu onto a set of mediums, John Meister onto mediums, Taz onto a set of mediums, Debe onto a set of softs again, so Debe committing to a two-stop strategy. Buchik onto mediums, Barthez mediums, Kepa committing to another stop. Insidious and Fishu committing to other stops as they are on soft tires. All of the medium runners, I'm sure, will have to make another stop as well, as it is only lap 15. We have 20 laps to go, so I don't imagine the mediums are going to be able to last another 20 laps. If you're Zalazny, this is not what you wanted at the moment. If you're Jack, this is exactly what you wanted. It's going to reopen the door and give Jack an opportunity to try to get a run here and try to get a pass done on Zalazny. Coming around here, lap 15. It looks like the grid is stacked back up, so there shouldn't be a very long safety car, as it looks like they already have the stricken McLaren, a True Hero, cleared already. Looking through at penalties here, lots of 3-second penalties being handed out. Buchik has 6 seconds and Kepa has 6 seconds. JJ with no penalties in a great position at the moment. Same with Bax and Noda and 29 Bailu. No penalties under their name, so they are in a great place at the moment in order to see themselves up further in the field once the end of the race hits. Buchik gets another 5-second penalty, bringing himself up to 11 seconds. Maddie gets a 5-second penalty now on top of what he already had of 3 seconds. So, collisions under safety car costing the drivers big time. One of the things that I'm curious to see here is, can the medium tires lead to the end? Bartosz gets a penalty for a collision with JJ there. Looking here, as they come around, the drivers are being really cautious into the middle sectors, which has been really impressive to watch, as they haven't wanted to really worry about anything. And safety car is in this lap, so it was a very short safety car. And Jack, a driver that we know can make some strong passes when they count. Same with JJ. I'm curious if Jack and JJ try to or if JJ tries to follow Jack around Zalazny into the first corner. So we'll definitely stick up front here and watch the battle as we see a bunch of crazy things happen. Saintek's getting a 5-second penalty for a collision with Kepa. As we come around, Zalazny has control of the field now, so it's whenever he wants to go, and he is going to be fighting to try to catch Jack off guard. And he's going to go really early compared to when JJ did with the first restart, which definitely catches Jack off guard, as Jack gets another 3 seconds of time penalty here for his trouble of trying to keep up there with Zalazny. And Zalazny is back underway, goes into the first corner, still holds the lead. Jack, 3/10 back, not able to match the pace or the traction of Zalazny coming out of corners. Difference in setup is costing Jack a lot of time coming through the first and second sector, where it's all about downforce and speed. JJ coming around 8/10. Jack trying a little bit tighter of a line through there into the second chicane. And it doesn't work for him. The gap now up to half a second, unfortunately. 29 Bailu in a strong position here in the back. 3/10 of a second back from Bax. Try saying that 5 times fast. Going around, and John Meister right behind 29 Bailu, as 29 Bailu gets a 3-second time penalty for his trouble of trying to keep up with Bax. And 29 Bailu goes around Bax here and is able to make the pass stick. Is John Meister going to be able to get the pass as well, though? As John Meister is tucked along the inside of Bax. And on this occasion, John Meister cannot get the pass as it goes. As Zalazny is setting a fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 1:11.3. Jack losing touch here. Gap to 6/10 of a second. JJ getting a little bit closer here. Gap 8/10 of a second. So they're still looking very strong here. And Noda gets around John Meister now. So Noda now up into P7. John Meister down into P8. As we see Tazo back in P9. And then Debit and Buchik back P10 and 11, still trying to have a chase on Noda and Bax and John Meister. So this middle grid or middle field is very, very stacked together, extremely close to each other as they try to make passes happen. Noda going around here on the left-hand side of Bax. It's going to be the outside that turns into the inside, and Noda trying to have a pass. Noda not able to make the pass happen. So, unfortunately for Noda, that is going to be that over with at the moment. But Noda having a big dive around the inside with lots of guts there. Noda getting past there. Bax trying to follow through, and Tazo trying to follow through as well. John Meister trying to defend all the positions he can at the moment as he drags side by side down the straightaway here with Bax. They are wing on wing, wheel on wheel. John Meister has a little bit more speed burning his ERS, and Bax has to back out of it going near the wall of champions as John Meister just decides to sling it around. Bax opting to live another day as opposed to what was the option there. DRS now enabled, and that means for Jack can finally start trying to charge here as Bax losing out here on Tazo. They are going to have another battle wheel on wheel as Tazo has the inside. Bax has to back out of it here, and that almost opened the door for Debe to try to go around. Looking here on lap 19 of 25, 17 laps to go at the moment. Looking around, it looks like it's Bax that is the big loser so far of this restart. He keeps getting chased down and passed by 1 to 2 cars at a time. Looking at the front of the field, Jack cannot seem to chase down Zalazny. He's got a 7/10 gap. Even with DRS open, it looks like Zalazny is able to maintain wide pace, and it's just down to that sector run and Sector 1 and Sector 2 run that Zalazny seems to be getting here. But the gap at this occasion is down to 4/10. We're down to 4/10. We're down to 3.5. We're down to 3/10. And Jack is just not close enough coming into that first turn to try to have a lunge and make a pass occur. Looking through here at the moment, Barthez with a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. That is going to be brutal for Barthez. That could potentially cost him this entire race. He is nearing DNF, and Buchik has a big spin there, it looks like, in the first sector, which brings out our third safety car of the race. And if you're Zalazny, you are sweating bullets right now, I'm sure, as Jack has just been pushing him and pushing him and pushing him to try to hold on. Lap 20 and lots of drivers opting to go into the pits. Jack going into the pits on only 5 lap all mediums. Gutsy decision from him there, so we'll see how this plays out for him. And Jack going on to a set of softs, not the option I would have made. So Jack is now committing himself to another pit stop at the moment. As there's no way the softs can last 15 laps, as far as I can tell. Noda, Bartosz, Kepa, Bax, Fishu, Debe, Insidious, and Maddie might be on a good strategy here, as they've opted to go on to sets of mediums. But Jack and JJ going on to softs is a very, and John Meister onto softs is a very interesting call, and I don't know if that's going to be the right call. But the front of the grid is where we started now. It's Zalazny, 29 Belu, and Tazo. Your top 3 with Sanctex up into P4 on 6 lap all mediums. So will they try to stretch these mediums to the end and hold on? Is the question I have. If you're a driver, what's the better strategy? Are you going to run the mediums long and risk having just dead, non-existent tires by the end? Or are you going to run and make another stop and possibly go to a set of softs at the end. What is the strategy here? What are you cornering yourself into? As they come around here on the lap 22 of 35. The pit strategy is going to be what I think makes or breaks this race for most of these drivers. I think it's really going to be where we see everything separated. And I said it at the beginning that I thought strategy was going to be the big make or break. And I think it's proving true at the moment as we see such a split strategy through the field. Some drivers staying out on mediums, some of them onto fresh softs, a lot of them on fresh mediums. So I think this is going to be where we see some sort of a make or break occur and really spell the finish of this race. Safety car in this lap, so it'll be lap 23 when we go back green. And just as we did last time, Jalajna is going to have control of the field as we go. So Jalajna will choose when we go back under green. And it looks like for him, he is going to opt to go ahead and get going before the chicane again, as he did with the last restart. So he is now gone. And it looks like 29 Bailu was ready for it. So 29 Bailu holding on to that close gap at the moment. And Barthez gets a 3-second time penalty for what I would imagine is corner cutting again. So Barthez with tons of penalties built up at the moment. And Barthez gets another penalty for collisions with JJ. Barthez at the moment holding on to 18 seconds of penalties, nearing disqualification. Maddie has a 3-second time penalty. Syntax has 14 seconds of time penalties. JJ picks up. He's now on 8 seconds of time penalties. So lots of drivers carrying very, very severe penalties through this race. Syntax up 13 places, though, into P4. Kepa gets another 3-second time penalty for warnings. So corner cutting is proving to cost these drivers a lot of positions, a lot of time as we're going through this race. And we still have 12 laps to go. As they come around the hairpin into the final sector, it looks like 29 Bailu is holding on to an 8/10 gap here as Tazo is 3.5 seconds here off of 29 Bailu. Of course, no DRS for 2 laps after the safety car, and it seems like skies are getting a little gray. So I wonder if we're going to start having rain here near the end of the race, and if that's going to be why these drivers on medium stayed out, if it's going to prove that they are going to have to switch to intermediates at some point, because the skies are looking a little gray, it's starting to look a little dark, and the changing weather could cost so many things here in FRL, as Tazo has now backed out of the session, and I'm going to guess that's a connection issue for him. And we might be seeing the first drops of rain falling here. Which, if it's going to rain, that would explain why a lot of these drivers didn't pit that are on these older medium tires. And it would explain why some of these drivers took soft tires if they knew they were going to have to go on to intermediates here shortly, try to build the pace now, and then cost it later. As we see some drivers falling way back there, it looks like Tazo falling way back, and Jack now up into P2, who is going to be free to chase down Jalajna. DRS enabled on this lap. So Jack with a 1.5 second gap, he needs to close up here on Zalazna. And 29 Belu back in P3 who needs to close up on Jack. Syntex and Noda passing each other here. And then John Meister up into P7. Going around here, it looks like some of the gaps are starting to spread out here. It looks like the closest battle at the moment is going to be John Meister on Saintex. But Tazo is trying to have a run on Bartosz down in P9, but just not close enough in order to make any sort of pass here on this lap. But John Meister is going to have a good run on Saintex. DRS open here at the moment, but Saintex has DRS as well. But Slipstream might help out here as John Meister thought about having a peak on the inside and sending it into the Wall of Champions, and he decided not to at the last second, but he still is extremely close. He's going to have DRS again. So does Saintex, though. So going around there, and John Meister has to back out of it. And that could cost John Meister more than just the opportunity to pass Saintex as Bartosz gets around him there. So John Meister now down into P8 from where he was battling for P6. Tazo here in P9, only 0.2 off of John Meister. So can Tazo try to have a pass on John Meister here through the DRS zone? But all three drivers here in this battle for 7th place have DRS. JJ seems like he might be in a great spot to make a pass happen here, as 29 Belu seem to have had a bad run. So JJ now 0.4 off of 29 Belu, going to try to have a drag down the main straight here, and he is going to look, and it is not going to happen. But in this occasion, JJ makes the pass happen there. And there's lots of passes going on through the midfield. Syntax into the pits. Lap 27 of 35 here. And it looks like a very strong race occurring here. JJ has 2.5 seconds to make up here on Jack. And Jack needs to make up the second gap he has on Zalazna. But cloudy conditions at the moment. So, is it possible weather is going to play a part here in this race? There is no telling at the moment as we watch here with just 7 laps to go, 8 laps to go. Looking through Noda, 0.5 second off of JJ as we go. So, can Noda get a pass in on JJ for P3? Is JJ starting to slip and lose pace on those soft compound tires that he pitted for? The softs have probably seen the best of their life at the moment, which means anyone on a fresher set of mediums is going to be really pacey here as we see Noda dive down the inside here on JJ, and that is going to put Noda into the podium, and we have a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like that is going to be for Barthez spinning a little bit through the Wall of Champions, but he's back underway with no issue, which means no safety car here with just 7 laps to go. Bartosz with another 3-second time penalty. Looking here as we go around, Jack has caught up to Zalazna big time here, so the gap now down to 0.3 as we watch Jack have a run around here. And is Jack going to be close enough for a pass? Jack gets a little bit loose, but Jack is going to have DRS here, and the gap is only 0.3. It's the closest we've seen him in a while, so Jack is going to have the help of DRS. Jack's going to dive to the left here, and Jack is going to go. Jack is going to go. Is Jack past? Jack is very much past, so Jack is into the lead with 7 laps to go here in this Canadian Grand Prix. And Jack also has DRS through the main straight, which means Jack can try to open up a lead, but we know Zalazna has pace. So can Zalazna have a run back at him here through the first or middle sector? Jalajna only 3/10 off, so not letting Jack build up as much of a gap as I'm sure Jack would want. The dirty air, though, costing him a little bit, so the gap now up into half a second. But will this DRS occasion help him get the pass done? As we see, gap down to 3/10, gap down to 2.5, gap down to 2/10, but not close enough for a lunge into the chicane. And it looks like Barthez has spun there in the first corner. Barthez back underway, though. No safety car, no VSC needed. As they come around on the back straight here, is Jalajna going to be able to have a pass? He's got a half-second gap, but he does have DRS as well. So DRS is open, gap down to 2.5 tenths, gap down to 2 tenths. He has a massive run. But he backs out of it as they hit the wall of champions, and they're back underway here on the main straight, and gap is still half a second. A great run from Jack through that final chicane. So that means for the moment, Jack is going to hold on to P1. 5 laps to go, though, and it's still anyone's game at the moment. Noda and JJ still need to sort themselves out here into P4. JJ with a half-second gap as they go through. Looks like St. Texas had a spin there into the wall of champions, and no safety car needed. He is still going. Barthez has lost out on the session, though, and has retired. So that is going to bring a yellow flag in a few different places. It looks like Fishy is spun as well at the moment in Sector 1. Yellow flags in every sector at the moment. It looks like drivers having a hard time with grip. As we see, it looks like Bartosh has spun there in the middle, in the first sector. Gap is 4 tenths at the moment for Jalajna on Jack. And Saintex retiring from the session after a spin there in the middle sector. And safety car on lap 31 here. And if you're Jack, you are going to hate to see this as you were ready to run to the end on those soft tires. If you're Jalajna, you are going to be ecstatic to see this as it means you're going to have an opportunity to get that pass done on lap 34 or 35 and get yourself back up into first place. How horrible for Jack you must feel right now. Jack, very unlucky at the moment. He had the softs on and he was ready to run to the end. Same with JJ. JJ with softs on was ready to run to the end for a P3 after just getting past Noda. Now the drivers are all going to bunch up as they're on the wrong side of the track for when the safety car comes out. It'll be interesting to see what drivers decide to pit and what drivers don't at the moment. Lap 32 here, and it looks like none of the drivers decided to pit, so they're all going to suffer it out through on the tires they have. But John Meister did pit, JJ's teammate, so John Meister might be going to try to steal the fastest lap from whoever has it at the moment, which it looks like at the time is going to be Noda with a 1:11.0. Strong positions here through the end. The field still trying to bunch up under safety car, so looks like we'll have a couple laps of safety car and a couple laps of green flag. I don't think we'll have any DRS here through the end. We'll see if any lap cars move around here. No, Michael, no. That's so not right if they do. Oh, and JJ smashes into the back of Jalajna. Is there any damage on his car? I think he's lucky with no damage there, but Jalajna is going to eat the 5-second penalty for that. That was scary to see on my screen. I don't know what that was, but that was scary. Yeah, no wing damage that I can tell there on JJ's car. So he's very lucky at the moment. Coming around here, lap 33 of 35. So if we were to green flag this lap, it'd be lap 34 of 35, which would mean 2 green flag laps to run. Jack is going to need to take off on Jalajna and really get going. Coming through here, it's at this point in the race, there's no reason to hold back. We can't have another safety car. It doesn't really make a difference at this point. If you're someone like JJ, maybe you hold back a little bit because you need to get Ferrari a little further up in constructors and you want to get that run on Mercedes to earn more constructors points. But at the same time, I don't think you do. I think you just send it. What's the worst that happens? You've got your main competitor in front. You need to just go. Safety car will be in this lap, which means we'll have 2 green flag laps of running here. So at this point, it's going to be make or break, and we'll see exactly how this run finishes up for the final 2 laps. So at this point, it is going to be safety car in. Jack is going to have control of the field however he wants to go. We've seen Jalajna run away early, and it looks like Jack is going to go before the final chicane. So Jack is backing away here. Jalajna still holding on to it, but JJ is going to have a great run here coming through into turn 1. JJ 2.5 tenths back. JJ thought about sending it, but JJ didn't. So we come around here. JJ, though, extremely close as we come around the right-hander to go down and through into the front field. And Kepa getting a 3-second time penalty here. We have just 2 laps to go as we see John Meister all the way up into P6 on those fresh soft tires. Debe losing out big time. There's a spin back in the back. That is 29 Belu who is spun, but he is going to be back underway. No issues, no need for anything there. Just a couple laps to go. We have another yellow flag, and it looks like that is going to be for JJ. JJ has lost out big time. John Meister up into P5. Jack in P1. Jalajna P2. Noda P3 now. Tazo up in 4th place as we go around through middle sector. I don't know what happened to JJ, but that is so unfortunate for the Ferrari driver. Always bad luck in Ferrari, and unfortunately it has struck again here in Canada. As we go around here, Jack has a half-second gap, no DRS at all, and you can see Jalajna gets a little bit loose there. He gets very loose, and that is going to prove extremely tasty here for Noda, as Noda's going to try to have a run through. Noda looking. Noda's just not close enough, and Noda's not in the slipstream, which is an interesting decision as he thought about having a little bit of a dive there. Jalajna half a second back on Jack. Jack looking at where he has finished so far this season. Jack, of course, not running as a main driver. Jack did have a podium, though, in Imola when he came back to full-time racing here in FRL. Jack, of course, the 2nd place of Season 3 in the Drivers' Championship. His main rival, Roloski, is gone, which means for Jack, it is his championship to secure, and for Jack, it means he can run through. Final lap coming around, 4 tenths the gap now on Jalajna to Jack. Jalajna closing in the first sector, 3.5 tenths now. Can Jalajna convert going through, though? He has a little bit of a peak there, 2 tenths the gap, though. It is still anyone's race here as we run through. Jalajna a tenth back, half a tenth back. Is he going to try to have a peak here through the chicane? He backs out of it. He thinks better of it, but that could have been his only passing opportunity. As we see, John Meister gets around his teammate Tazo. So John Meister now up into 4th place with a 2-second gap, though. He doesn't have enough. We're going to come around the hard right-hander. Jalajna needs to have all the traction coming through here, and Jack just needs to be clean. Jack is clean. Jalajna gets loose. That may prove to be Jalajna's only chance that he had to pass here. Noda a little bit back, and it's still anyone's guess here who's going to win, as we do still have the final chicane. Jalajna has 1.5 tenths, 1 tenth. Is Jalajna going to try to send it? He's not. He's right on the rear end of Jack. He doesn't send it through, and for Jack, that is going to be a victory here in Canada. But due to penalties, Noda's going to get first place, and it's going to be so many penalties to serve. And that means Bax is going to be in P2, Tazo in P3, Jalajne in P4. And for Jack, it was all not worth it as Jack drops to P5, Maddie 6th, Debe 7th, Insidious 8th, 29 Bailu in 9th, John Meister in 10th, Bartosz P11, Kepa P12, Fishu, and unfortunately for the Ferrari of JJ, he is going to be in last place here as he has a horrible finish. A horrible ending to the race. A race that he was showing so close and such a possibility of winning. And he is just going to send it through the final chicane. And unfortunately for JJ, he's going to bring home nothing to show for such a valiant race and valiant effort. Same for Jack. Such a valiant race, valiant effort, and a valiant battle with Jalajne. But unfortunately for him, it is all for nothing as Insidious is our driver of the day. And what an amazing race we just witnessed. As we can see the Williams up in first place, and then we have the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes first, second, third. Penalties, as we said in Split 2, were going to be what played this race. And you can see penalties putting Williams on the top step when it looked like it was Jack who had it all to play for in the Alpine. And Jalajne looked like he had a great spot there. Unfortunately, penalties costing so many things. And so much bad luck in the final couple of laps. So Noda, Bax, Tazo, your top three was Jalajne in P4, Jack in P5, Maddie, Debet, Insidious, 29 Bailu, John Meister, Bartosz, Kepa, Fishu, and yeah, boy, JJ. Oh, how unfortunate for Ferrari. Will we see Ferrari finally get fruits of their labor fulfilled here? Ferrari, who have had a good season, to see themselves in P2 in the Constructors, just not able to convert on this race. Unfortunately for them, that could prove to be extremely problematic after such a good finish from both Alpine, well, from Jack and Alpine. That could prove problematic for them in the Constructors' Championship with only a 5-point gap between them. So unfortunately, that hurts for me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's sometimes the way it goes in FRL, though. In F1 racing, sometimes you have a great race, sometimes you have a horrible race. And unfortunately, JJ proving out for the worst of luck. It was such a horrible thing. That was so scary. But next week is going to be just as fun. Next week we have Saudi Arabia. Next week is going to be a scary one. A tiny street track, narrow, no room for passing. It's going to be, I'm curious to see what next week shows. So, with that being said, congratulations to your top three drivers. Congratulations to your driver of the day. Congratulations to both Split 2 and Split 1. This is going to be where we call it here for Round 5 of FRL. Join us next week in Round 6 when we're in Saudi Arabia for what I'm sure is going to be another amazing race. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Appreciate everyone joining in. And if you are interested in joining FRL, be sure to check out our Discord. We would love to have you. We've got plenty of spots open, plenty of things. We would love to build this grid up and have more and more drivers. We've got engineering spots. We always have room for more people in the league. If you have some sort of talent, graphic design, anything you want to bring into the league, go ahead and stop by. We'd love to have you. But with that being said, this is where we call the stream this week. I'm Bradley. I'm the voice of FRL. I love everyone stopping by. I appreciate each and every one of you. Congratulations to all 40 of our drivers that ran today. And I'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye. And it looks like Noda is going to be your winner of this Portuguese Grand Prix.
Orlowski who's going to continue to push. Orlowski is your champion. JJ splits the middle, gets past both